Thick, motionless fog rolled across the broken highway as if it carried secrets that dared not rise into the open air. Headlights from an old GMC Suburban cut a thin yellow path through the dark. Inside, 6 friends sat in heavy silence, each lost in the hum of tires over cracked asphalt and the whisper of the wind pressing against their windows. They had all agreed on this, an urban exploration trip to one of the most forbidden places in their state, Marlowe Asylum, abandoned since 1971. The driver, Elliot, 25, was tall, wiry, with dark-circled eyes and the sallow skin of a lifelong insomniac. He spent most nights on forgotten web forums reading about haunted sites and cursed objects. Beside him sat Tamara, his girlfriend, small and stoic, a history major obsessed with old sanatoriums and Victorian mortuary practices. She had arranged the trip under the guise of paranormal documentation. In the middle row, Reza, heavy-set with a wild beard and constant sweat shine, clutched his camera rig. He called himself a filmmaker, though he mostly uploaded conspiracy rants and short documentaries on decaying industrial sites. Next to him sat Naomi, a tattooed and brooding mechanic with nicotine-stained fingers who always smelled faintly of gasoline and spearmint gum. She was only here for Reza, rolling her eyes every time the word ghost was uttered. In the far back were Jonas and Camille, siblings. Jonas, a quiet nursing student, spent the drive reading silent prayers on his phone. Camille, younger by a year, sat with her hoodie pulled tight over her headphones, drumming her fingers nervously against her thigh to an inaudible beat. Tamara's voice cut through the engine drone. "We're almost there. It should be another mile past the collapsed bridge." "Collapsed bridge?" Naomi scoffed, flicking ash from her cigarette into a water bottle. "Sounds promising." "Don't be an ass," Elliot said. "She means the old concrete footbridge near the utility trail." Naomi rolled her eyes again and muttered, "Still sounds promising." The road ended at a rust-eaten chain-link fence tangled with blackberries and dead ivy. Signs read "No trespassing, danger, asbestos," but the words were nearly erased by decades of rain and rot. Beyond the fence, an overgrown path led into the forest. Bare tree branches clawed at each other in the light breeze like skeletal fingers. They exited the SUV, their boots sinking into mud hidden beneath pine needles. The smell of moss, rust, and decayed wood pressed around them with oppressive dampness. Reza set up his camera on a gimbal, filming their walk through the brush. The air tasted of iron and stagnant water. Even Naomi fell silent as they approached the asylum grounds. Marlowe Asylum loomed ahead in the gloom. Its 4 wings curled around an interior courtyard like a monstrous claw. The brick walls were blackened with mildew, windows shattered into jagged mouths of darkness. Vines had claimed entire sections, coiling through window frames and climbing into the gabled roof. "Beautiful," Tamara whispered with a trembling smile. "Absolutely beautiful." Jonas swallowed, shifting his backpack. "I still don't get why it's abandoned. They just left patients here to die." "No," Tamara said. Officially, they evacuated after the 1971 collapse in the South Wing, but there were stories of staff vanishing before that. "And," she lowered her voice. "They say some patients refused to leave. They hid in the walls." Reza grinned. "Perfect. Creepy lore, mold, and asbestos cancer all in one package." Elliot cut the padlock with bolt cutters, the clack of steel echoing against the building like a gunshot. For a moment, the group froze, listening for approaching guards or distant footsteps. But there was only the whisper of wind through shattered glass. They stepped inside. The interior reeked of mildew, ammonia, and rotting wood. Peeling linoleum curled from the floor like flayed skin. Old gurneys rusted in place, wheels locked by corrosion. Every doorway yawned into darkness that seemed to devour the glow of their headlamps. Reza filmed everything, narrating softly into his mic. Tamara moved slowly along the walls, reading crumbling plaques outside each ward. Ward G, suicidal females, she read aloud, voice hollow. Ward D, violent males. Any ghosts yet? Naomi muttered. Her sarcasm sounded forced, strangled by the choking atmosphere of the place. In the recreation hall, they found overturned chairs, a piano warped by moisture, keys split and swollen into uselessness. Mold bloomed in great furry colonies across the ceiling. Elliot swept his light over the walls, where graffiti covered cracked plaster. But beneath the graffiti, faint original murals showed wide-eyed children holding hands around an oak tree, smiling with teeth too sharp, eyes too large. Their paint was barely visible under mold. Jonas closed his eyes, whispering a prayer beneath his breath again. "Check this out," Reza said. He had found a hallway to the patient dormitories. On the far end, one door was completely sealed with rusted chains and a rotted 2x4 nailed across the frame. Why would they seal a door in an abandoned building? Camille asked, her voice tiny. Tamara's eyes widened. That's Ward F. The solitary ward. They sealed it during the collapse to keep people out, or in. Let's get it on film, Reza said eagerly, moving forward with his camera. Elliot followed, adjusting his backpack to pull out an infrared flashlight. Naomi remained at the rear with Camille, scanning the darkness behind them as if something might lurch from the shadows. Elliot placed his hand on the sealed door. The wood was damp and cold. He pressed his ear against it. The others fell silent, watching him strain to hear something beyond. Nothing. Only the faint dripping of water leaking from somewhere above. Then he heard it. Just under the steady drip drip drip, a scratching. Slow, deliberate. Then a faint whimper, rising into a rasping, broken sob. Elliot jerked back. There's something in there. Naomi scoffed nervously. A rat. That wasn't a rat, Elliot whispered. He flicked his flashlight across the door, illuminating deep gouges in the frame, as if fingernails had dug desperately at the wood. Tamara lifted her phone, recording. Let's open it, Reza said. No, Jonas whispered. No, don't. But Reza was already unpacking a small crowbar. Camille turned away, covering her mouth, eyes shut tight. The others watched as he dug the crowbar under the rotted wood, peeling it away with a brittle crack. Nails shrieked as they bent free. The chain clattered to the floor. Elliot's breath came in ragged gasps. He felt something behind the door. Something aware. Wait, Tamara said, gripping his arm. Don't. But it was too late. Reza shoved the door. It swung open with a groan of rusted hinges, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. The smell hit them instantly, a wet, sour stench of decay and mold so thick it seemed to solidify in their lungs. Elliot coughed, eyes watering. Reza lifted his camera. Let's see what's so dangerous. He stepped inside, his light cutting across collapsed bunks and peeling paint. Then it illuminated the far wall. There, sitting with its back to them, was a figure in a patient gown. The head was bald and bruised, with thick, uneven sutures running down the skull like a grotesque zipper. One eye socket was sunken, the other bulged, weeping thick yellow pus. Its skin was the color of rotting milk, and it was humming softly to itself. Elliot felt his bladder loosen. His knees trembled. The thing turned toward them slowly, its jaw unhinging with an audible snap. Its mouth was wide, too wide, filled with jagged, broken teeth that reached all the way down its throat. Its tongue lolled out, blackened and cracked. It shrieked. The scream pierced the hallway, reverberating through the asylum with inhuman pitch. The windows rattled. Camille fell to her knees, covering her ears. Reza's camera clattered to the floor. The creature lurched forward, arms outstretched, broken fingernails dripping black fluid onto the linoleum. And in that moment, as its scream drowned their own, Elliot felt something move within the walls behind him, as if hundreds of other things were waking up, disturbed by their trespass. And he realized, with a certainty that ripped open his chest with dread, they were not alone. They never had been. They ran. The scream still rang in their ears, vibrating down to their bones. Elliot felt the floor shift beneath his boots as he sprinted out of the solitary wing. He didn't dare look behind him to see if that creature was following. Its shriek, that hideous unearthly sound, clawed at the edges of his mind, peeling back layers of reason and courage. They barreled into the recreation hall, Reza tripping over an overturned chair and smashing his knee against the tile. He let out a sharp cry, clutching his camera to his chest, but didn't stop crawling backward until he hit the piano's broken frame. Camille sobbed softly as Jonas pulled her into his arms, whispering prayers against her hair. Naomi stood facing the dark hallway they'd fled, holding a rusted length of rebar she'd grabbed from the debris. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths, but her grip was steady. Tamara collapsed against the wall, chest rising and falling rapidly as she fought to keep from vomiting. Was that a person? Camille whispered, tears streaking the dirt on her cheeks. No, Elliot said, his voice flat, eyes glazed. That wasn't a person. That was never a person. Reza struggled to his feet, limping. It was a squatter, he insisted, his voice rising shrilly. Just, some homeless guy who's been living here. Radiation, drugs, infection, that's all it was. It wasn't a monster. Tamara shook her head, refusing to look at him. Did you see its mouth? The sutures on its skull? That thing wasn't alive. The lights on their headlamps flickered, momentarily plunging them into darkness. Camille let out a terrified whimper. Jonas tightened his hold on her, eyes scanning the shadows. We need to leave, Naomi said, voice firm and emotionless. Right now. Before whatever that is decides to come looking. Agreed, Elliot said. They gathered their gear, but as they turned back down the entrance hallway, Tamara stopped. Her hand went to her mouth. The door, she whispered. The entrance door was gone. Not just shut, gone. In its place was only a solid brick wall, lined with rust-stained tiles. Mold seeped from the mortar joints like infected wounds. Elliot ran forward, pounding on the wall with his fists. No, he gasped. No, 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 no. It was right here. It was right here. He dropped to his knees, pressing his forehead against the cold brick. Reza tried to film the wall, but his camera flickered with static. Naomi swung her rebar against the bricks, but only dust and red powder fell to the floor. Maybe we took a wrong turn, Camille whispered. Maybe we're in the wrong wing. No, Tamara said. Her voice was hollow, defeated. We're in the same place. This place is shifting. Rearranging. Reza's breathing grew rapid. That's not possible. Buildings don't change. That's not how reality works. Tamara turned to him, her eyes rimmed with tears. You think this place cares about your reality? Silence fell over them, broken only by the faint scratching they could now hear within the walls. A chittering, skittering sound like dozens of small claws moving just behind the plaster. "What is that?" Jonas asked, his voice trembling. "Don't ask," Naomi snapped. "We need to find another exit." They moved deeper into the asylum, following signs that pointed toward the kitchen wing. As they walked, their lights revealed grotesque graffiti on the walls, not the colorful scrawls of taggers, but smeared symbols drawn in what looked like blood and dark mold. Twisted sigils resembling broken rib cages, screaming faces, and coiling worms marked every surface. Camille clutched Jonas' arm tighter. "I don't want to be here anymore." "None of us do," he whispered. They entered the cafeteria. Metal tables were bolted to the floor, overturned benches scattered like corpses. The serving line was covered in ancient rust, and large walk-in coolers lined the back wall, doors slightly ajar. A foul, sour rot wafted from within. Reza limped over to film inside the cooler. "Maybe there's an exit back here," he said, his voice tight with panic masked as optimism. "No," Tamara said, "that's just storage." But Reza ignored her and pulled the cooler door open. A wave of putrid air washed over them, so thick with ammonia and rot that Naomi gagged and spat on the floor. Inside, something sat propped against the wall, covered in a gray blanket. Jonas shone his light on it. It was a body. Or rather, the husk of a body, mummified by cold and time, mouth frozen in a scream, eyes shriveled into dark pits. Its hands were bound with leather restraints, wrists bent at unnatural angles. Deep scratch marks marred the metal walls around it, as if it had clawed desperately for freedom until its fingers snapped and split. "Oh my God," Camille gasped, turning away to vomit on the floor. Reza swallowed hard, his face pale as he forced his camera forward. "We need this on film. This is proof." "Proof of what?" Naomi spat. "That we're all about to die down here." "No," he whispered, almost to himself. "Proof that they did something here. Proof that this place is haunted." Tamara stepped forward, staring at the corpse. "They didn't just house the insane here. They experimented. Lobotomies, insulin therapy, electroshock without anesthetic. They were obsessed with controlling what they called the chaos within." "The chaos within," Elliot repeated softly, as if tasting the words. What if they weren't talking about the patient's minds? What if they meant something else? Something inside the asylum itself. The scratching in the walls grew louder, closer, rising into faint whispers that slipped between the cracks of their sanity. Camille covered her ears, whimpering. "Please," she sobbed. "Please make it stop." Suddenly, Reza let out a sharp cry. His camera fell to the floor, clattering across the tile. They turned to him and saw blood seeping down his leg. Naomi grabbed him, pulling him back. A rat the size of a house cat scurried away into the shadows, its jaws red with his flesh. "Fuck!" Reza gasped. "It bit me. It fucking bit me." Jonas ripped open his backpack and pulled out a small first aid kit. Naomi pressed Reza down onto a table, rolling up his pant leg. The bite was deep, ragged, already weeping blood and dark fluid. The skin around it was turning purple and gray. Tamara swallowed, her face drained of all color. That's not normal. "We need to clean it," Jonas said. "If it gets infected, he could go septic in hours." Naomi tied a rag tightly above the wound, cutting off some blood flow. "We need to keep moving. We can't stop here." Reza groaned, clutching his camera to his chest. "Film, keep filming," Naomi looked at him with disgust. Film yourself dying, then. Tamara grabbed Elliot's arm, her eyes wild. We need to get to the main administration wing. That's where they kept records, floor plans, emergency exits. There might still be an unlocked door. Elliot nodded, glancing at Reza, who was growing pale and sweaty. Can you walk? Reza nodded weakly. Just keep filming. They left the cafeteria, moving quickly down a corridor lined with glass block windows covered in black mold. The scratching in the walls followed them, and the whispers grew louder. Elliot could almost make out words now. They slithered across his mind in an alien tongue that made his stomach churn and his ears throb with pain. As they reached the end of the hallway, Tamara stopped. Her headlamp illuminated a mural depicting the asylum staff in pristine white uniforms, smiling benevolently down at painted patients. But someone had carved a phrase into the plaster beneath their feet, deep gouges that exposed the brickwork. They opened the door and never closed it. Naomi read the words out loud, her voice cold and hollow. What door? Tamara shook her head slowly, staring at the smiling staff. Not a door made of wood or brick, she whispered. A door into something else. The scratching stopped. Silence pressed around them, suffocating and absolute. Elliot felt the hairs on his neck rise as he turned, scanning the darkness behind them. That's when they heard it, a voice. High and broken. Singing softly in the dark. It was coming from the shadows at the far end of the hallway. And with dawning horror, they realized the voice was familiar. Mom. Camille whispered, stepping forward, her eyes glassy with sudden tears. Mom. Camille, no. Jonas grabbed her arm, but she shook him off, walking toward the voice. As she stepped into the darkness, the singing stopped. And something growled. Camille. Jonas screamed, his voice cracking as he lunged after his sister. The others followed, headlamps casting chaotic shadows across the crumbling hallway walls. The faint melody of "Rockabye Baby" still echoed in Elliot's ears, but the voice was gone, swallowed by an oppressive silence that felt like wet cloth pressed over their mouths. Camille was standing at the far end of the corridor, frozen. Her arms were limp at her sides. Naomi skidded to a stop beside Jonas, gripping her rebar tightly. The beam of her flashlight cut through the gloom, illuminating Camille's trembling silhouette. Camille, Jonas whispered, inching forward. It's not Mom. Mom's dead. But Camille didn't respond. She tilted her head slightly, as if listening to something only she could hear. Camille, Naomi hissed. Move. Now. Elliot's light swept across the darkness beyond Camille. His breath caught in his throat. There, just past her, stood a figure. Its body was tall and thin, bones pressing against translucent skin stretched tight like damp parchment. It wore a torn hospital gown stained dark brown with old blood. The head was wrapped in yellowed gauze, and from between the strips, a dozen human teeth jutted out at random angles, embedded into the flesh as if forced there by brutal hands. The teeth gleamed wetly in the beam of his flashlight. The thing raised a trembling, skeletal hand toward Camille. Its fingers were tipped with blackened claws. The smell of rotting milk and rusted metal filled the corridor. Camille, don't move, Elliot whispered, unable to tear his eyes away from the creature. But Camille took a step forward, her breath coming in tiny gasps. Tears streaked her cheeks. Mom. I missed you so much, the creature cocked its head. The teeth embedded in its face clacked together like chattering bone. From beneath the gauze came a wet, sucking sound, as if its mouth was filled with thick mucus. Then it spoke. Its voice was wet and hollow, and something about it rattled the marrow of Elliot's bones. Camille let out a choking sob and took another step forward. Jonas grabbed her arm and yanked her back hard. She screamed in rage and grief, clawing at his chest. "Let me go. It's her. She's here, Jonas, she's here." The creature lunged forward with a horrible shriek, mouth opening impossibly wide beneath the gauze. A writhing, pinkish-gray tongue slithered out, covered in sharp black spines. Elliot grabbed Naomi's shoulder, pulling her backward. Naomi swung her rebar, connecting with the creature's jaw. Teeth snapped off and clattered to the tile floor. It screamed again, a sound so high-pitched it made blood trickle from Jonas' nose. The creature staggered back, clutching its ruined jaw, and bolted into a side room, vanishing into the dark. Camille collapsed to the ground, sobbing into her hands. Jonas crouched beside her, holding her tightly. Naomi wiped the splatter of rotting flesh from her rebar, face pale and expressionless. That wasn't her, Camille," Jonas whispered, his voice shaking. "That wasn't her." Elliot turned away, bile rising in his throat. He fought the urge to vomit, staring down the corridor into the dark. Tamara stepped forward, kneeling beside Camille. "Listen to me," she said softly but firmly. "Whatever is in here, whatever we're seeing, it knows us. It knows what hurts us. It will use that. Do you understand?" Camille nodded weakly, wiping tears and snot from her face. Reza sat against the wall, clutching his bitten leg. The skin around the wound was now deep purple, mottled with black streaks climbing up toward his knee. His breathing was shallow and rapid, sweat pouring down his face in rivers. We need to keep moving," he gasped. Film everything," Naomi glared at him. "You're going septic. You need a hospital, not a fucking documentary." "No," Reza rasped, his voice distant. "This is real. All of it. If we die, someone has to see." Tamara stood. "We need to get to the administration wing. There might be old surgical supplies there. Antibiotics. Something." "Where is it?" Jonas asked. Tamara pointed down the corridor past where the creature had fled. "Through there. Then down the east ward." Naomi rolled her shoulders and spat onto the tile. "Then let's go." They moved in silence, boots crunching over broken glass and rat droppings. Elliot kept his light sweeping across every doorway, every shadow. His pulse thundered in his temples, and each heartbeat felt like another tick of a countdown he couldn't see. They passed a nurse's station where filing cabinets had rusted shut. Patient records lay scattered across the floor, pages rotting into unrecognizable pulp. One page clung to the linoleum, dried with what looked like old blood. Naomi's light caught the faded header, Dr. Margaret Sorrell, Unethical Practice Investigation, 1971. Tamara paused, kneeling to peel the paper off the floor. The words beneath were barely legible, but she read aloud, Patient 47. Extensive cranial alterations to increase, what does that say? Increase, capacity for residence. Symptoms include hallucinations, aggression, vocal mimicry, successfully induced nesting behavior. Nesting behavior? Jonas repeated, his voice trembling. Tamara stood, folding the paper into her pocket. "We need to go." They reached the end of the corridor and emerged into the east wing. Here, the walls were lined with locked steel doors. Each bore a small glass window, cracked or clouded with grime. Some rooms were empty save for rusted bed frames and chains bolted to the walls. Others held shapes hidden in darkness, broken wheelchairs, rotting mattresses, or things too obscure to identify. As they approached the administration office, Elliot felt a sudden coldness grip his chest. His breath steamed in front of him. The others slowed, their headlamps dimming under the suffocating dark. Then they heard it, a scratching. Not from the walls this time. From the ceiling. They looked up. In the darkness above, dozens of shapes scuttled along exposed beams and rusted pipes. Small, pale bodies with swollen bellies and limbs twisted at impossible angles. Their heads were hairless, with huge milky eyes that stared down at the group with unblinking hunger. Their mouths hung open, revealing rows of jagged, blackened teeth. Some had nails driven through their jaws, pinning them permanently open. Others wore collars made of twisted wire. One of the creatures let out a wet, gurgling giggle. "Run," Naomi whispered. The creatures dropped from the ceiling as one, shrieking and hissing. The group scattered, boots slamming against tile. Elliot grabbed Tamara's hand and pulled her toward the administration door. Naomi swung her rebar, shattering one creature's skull like rotten fruit. Its body convulsed on the floor, leaking thin yellow fluid. Jonas dragged Camille down the hall, Reza limping after them, camera clutched to his chest. The creatures poured over the walls, their long fingers clutching at hair, clothing, skin. One bit into Elliot's shoulder, tearing away a strip of flesh. He screamed, smashing it against the wall until its skull caved in. Naomi kicked open the administration door and shoved them inside. Jonas and Camille stumbled through, followed by Reza. Elliot and Tamara slammed the door shut just as a creature lunged. It slammed into the wood with a screech, clawing furiously. Naomi slid a metal filing cabinet in front of the door, her muscles straining. The creatures outside shrieked in rage, their claws scraping against wood like nails on bone. For a moment, the room fell silent save for their ragged breathing. Elliot collapsed against the wall, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Tamara knelt beside him, pressing gauze from Jonas' kit against the wound. The smell of rust and mold mingled with blood in the air. Reza sat in a corner, filming them all with shaking hands. "We're trapped," he whispered. "We're all going to die in here." Naomi turned to Tamara, who was rummaging through drawers and cabinets. "Find anything useful?" Tamara pulled out a yellowed folder, her fingers trembling. She flipped it open, revealing schematics of the building. Her eyes scanned the drawings quickly, then widened. There's another basement level." Jonas frowned. "I thought there was only one." Tamara shook her head, her eyes wide with terror and wonder. "This says there's a sub-basement. Labeled, containment." "Containment for what?" Naomi asked. Tamara looked up at her, her face pale as wax. "For whatever they let in." The flickering beam of Tamara's headlamp trembled over the schematics. Her fingers felt numb as she traced the faded lines showing a set of stairs hidden beneath the east wing boiler room, descending into a level marked only as sub-basement, containment. What did they keep down there? Jonas asked, his voice a strangled whisper. Tamara shook her head. "It doesn't say. There are no room labels, just an entry hatch, maintenance tunnel, and the containment chamber." "Containment for what?" Naomi demanded again, her voice sharp with fear disguised as anger. Elliot shivered against the filing cabinet, pressing gauze to his torn shoulder. Blood seeped between his fingers. He felt the skin around the wound throbbing with a feverish heat that set his teeth on edge. "Whatever it is. If it's sealed, maybe there's an exit tunnel. Old service lines, electrical conduits. They might lead outside. We can't go deeper, Camille whispered, hugging her knees to her chest. Her eyes were glazed with shock. Please, please, no deeper. Reza sat slumped against the far wall, his bitten leg mottled black and purple. His eyes rolled slightly as he filmed them, camera trembling in his limp grip. Deeper is good, he rasped. It's where the truth lives. Naomi shot him a disgusted glance. You're delirious. He didn't respond, just smiled faintly and let the camera drop to his lap, still recording. Jonas knelt by Tamara, studying the blueprint. Where's the boiler room from here? Down the east hall, past hydrotherapy, near the mechanical access stairs. Naomi moved to the door, pressing her ear against it. The creatures outside were quiet now. Only faint scratching and the occasional wet giggle drifted through the wood. They're waiting, she muttered. Like fucking rats. Elliot staggered upright, gripping his crowbar with white knuckles. Then we move fast. We kill what we have to. We get to the sub-basement. Tamara rolled up the blueprint, tucking it into her pack. Whatever's down there, we have to be ready. For what? Jonas asked softly. Tamara looked up at him, eyes sunken and dark. For the truth. They shoved the filing cabinet aside. The door creaked open, revealing an empty hall smeared with dark handprints and chunks of broken tile. The stench of mildew and rotting flesh pressed against their sinuses like a damp rag. Naomi led, rebar gripped tightly, eyes scanning every ceiling beam and shadow. They moved quickly, passing through the hydrotherapy ward. The walls were lined with rusted tubs and tiled shower stalls stained black with mold. Some stalls were closed by cracked glass doors, opaque with mildew. Elliot couldn't help but glance inside as they passed. Behind one door stood a patient gown hanging from a rusted hook. Its sleeves dangled limply, the fabric yellowed and eaten away. The shadows beneath it seemed too thick, pooling around the gown's hem as if hiding something that could step forward at any moment. He forced his eyes away. They emerged into the boiler room. Massive tanks loomed in the darkness, pipes coiling around them like rusted intestines. The smell of burnt oil and damp iron thickened the air. Naomi swept her light across the floor, revealing old wrenches, broken gauges, and a thick film of black mold coating the far wall. There, Tamara said, pointing to the floor near the largest tank. Half buried beneath rotted cardboard boxes was a metal hatch, sealed with a padlock. The chain holding it closed was crusted in rust, but intact. Elliot dropped to his knees, pulling bolt cutters from his backpack. As he snapped the lock, a faint vibration moved up through his knees. The hatch cover thrummed with a subtle rhythmic pulse. Do you feel that? He whispered. Jonas nodded, eyes wide. Like, breathing. The hatch swung open with a metallic groan, releasing a puff of air that smelled of ammonia and damp earth. A narrow stairwell descended into darkness so complete it seemed to swallow the beam of their lights. Naomi moved to descend first, but Tamara grabbed her arm. Let me go first, she said softly. Why? Tamara met her eyes. Because this is what I came here for. Naomi hesitated, then nodded, stepping aside. Tamara turned and began her slow descent, one trembling boot at a time, vanishing into the dark. The others followed. Elliot felt the air grow colder with every step. The walls narrowed as they descended, forcing them to move single file. Reza shuffled behind Jonas, camera pointed down the stairs, filming nothing but shadows. His breathing came in ragged wheezes, and each exhale smelled of rotting flesh. At the bottom, Tamara stepped into a wide chamber lit only by their flickering lamps. The walls were lined with stainless steel panels streaked with old blood and corrosion. Heavy shackles were bolted into the concrete floor, and a drain ran down the center, clogged with hair and dark scum. Camille gagged, turning away to retch into the corner. Jonas rubbed her back, fighting his own nausea. Naomi swept her light across the chamber, revealing more of the panels. Some bore deep dents, as if something had slammed into them repeatedly with inhuman strength. Then Elliot's light fell upon a large metal door at the far end of the chamber. Its surface was smeared with handprints. Black symbols had been painted across it in thick strokes. Twisted shapes resembling broken spines, inverted skulls, and eyes weeping black tears. Tamara stepped forward, her breath hitching in her chest. "This is it." "What is it?" Naomi demanded. Tamara turned to face them, her face pale, eyes wide with horror and a strange awe. "This is what they called the nest." "The nest?" Jonas asked, voice trembling. Tamara nodded slowly. "They were performing something here. Ritual experiments. They believed mental illness wasn't just biological, it was spiritual. They thought insanity opened doorways to other realities. And they wanted to create a vessel to let something through." "Something?" Elliot repeated, his mouth dry. Tamara swallowed. "They called it, the patient beneath." Silence fell over them. Even Reza lowered his camera slightly, staring at the door. Suddenly, the entire room trembled with a low, guttural groan, vibrating up from beneath their feet. Dust drifted down from the concrete ceiling. The drain bubbled with black water, releasing a smell so vile that Jonas doubled over, retching bile onto the floor. Camille clutched Jonas' arm, sobbing softly. "Please. Please, can we leave? Please." Tamara turned back to the door, running her fingers over the twisted symbols. "They opened something here. Something that shouldn't exist in this world." Naomi stepped forward, gripping her rebar. "Then why the fuck would we open it again?" Tamara turned to face her, eyes dark and hollow. "Because it's already open." The floor beneath them shifted with a deep cracking sound. Fissures split across the concrete, black ooze bubbling up in thin rivulets. The metal door creaked and buckled, warping outward as if under enormous pressure. A deep, wet breathing filled the chamber, vibrating their bones. Reza raised his camera, filming the door. Tears streamed down his pale cheeks, mixing with sweat and snot. "It's here," he whispered. "The truth is here." Then the door began to open. A foul, suffocating darkness poured out, thicker than shadow, smelling of rot and ancient decay. The breathing grew louder, resonating in their chests like a monstrous heartbeat. And from within the darkness, something moved. Long, glistening limbs slid forward, tipped with clawed, finger-like appendages. The limbs parted, revealing a mouth large enough to swallow a man whole, lined with spiraling rows of needle teeth. Black mucus dripped onto the concrete, hissing where it touched. A sound rose from within the creature, a chorus of broken, wet voices whispering in perfect unison. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." Naomi screamed. Camille collapsed to the floor. Jonas pulled her into his arms, sobbing prayers into her hair. Elliot felt his mind split at the edges, his vision fracturing as he stared into the living nightmare before them. And Tamara stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Tamara stepped forward, trembling with tears streaming down her cheeks, as the creature fully emerged from the containment chamber. Its mass was amorphous and shifting, layers of slick black flesh rippling and folding over each other like an obscene chrysalis. Countless limbs extended and retracted along its sides, some ending in clawed hands, others in fingerless stumps that writhed blindly in the damp air. The air was thick with the stench of rot, ammonia, and something older than death. The creature's central maw yawned wide, revealing spiraling teeth that churned slowly like a grinder, wet with thick strands of mucus-dark saliva. Its breath reeked of putrefied meat and iron. Jonas clutched Camille to his chest, pressing her face into his shirt to shield her eyes. Naomi stepped in front of them, rebar raised, but her arms trembled violently. "Tamara!" Elliot shouted, voice cracking as he staggered forward, grabbing her by the shoulder. "Get away from it. We need to run." But Tamara didn't move. Her eyes glistened with awe. "Don't you see it, Elliot?" she whispered, voice trembling with something deeper than fear. "It's the original patient. The one they created. The doorway. The reason the asylum never closed, not really." "What the fuck are you talking about?" Naomi hissed, stepping back as the creature dragged itself forward with glistening limbs, its bulk leaving streaks of black mucus across the concrete. Tamara's breathing hitched with sobs. "They took the worst patients, the ones that heard voices from beyond reality, and they performed the nesting ritual. They opened them up. They let it in." The creature stopped just feet from them. The chorus of wet voices rose from within its churning teeth, vibrating the floor beneath their boots. "We are the patient beneath. We are hunger. We are skin. Give us skin. Give us skin. Give us skin." Reza let out a choking sob from behind his camera. His bitten leg was now black to the thigh, oozing foul-smelling pus. He raised the camera higher, filming the monstrous entity. God, it's beautiful," he rasped, his voice wet and distant. "Shut up, Reza," Naomi hissed, eyes darting for any possible exit. "Tamara. We need to move. Now." Tamara turned to them, tears streaking through the grime on her face. "No," she whispered. "Don't you see? It's been waiting. Waiting for someone to finish what they started." Elliot grabbed her arm roughly. "We are not finishing anything. We're getting out of here." But Tamara pulled free and stepped closer to the creature. Its limbs reached toward her, trembling with anticipation. The mouth widened, revealing something deep inside its throat, a hollow cavity lined with flickering, eyeless faces. Each face wept black tears as it whispered in chorus with the main voice. Camille let out a high, broken scream as she saw them. "Those are people. Those are people." The faces twisted and wept, lips moving in perfect unison. "Join us. Join us. Join us." Tamara fell to her knees, sobbing. "Please, take me. Show me what's beyond." "No." Elliot shouted, lunging forward. Naomi grabbed his shoulder, pulling him back as the creature's limbs lashed out. One clawed appendage wrapped around Tamara's torso, lifting her effortlessly from the concrete. She screamed, but it was a scream of ecstasy rather than terror. The creature's mouth opened wide, splitting into 3 vertical segments like a grotesque flower. Its teeth churned wetly, spiraling inward. It lowered Tamara into the gaping maw. Her screams became shrill with agony as the teeth tore into her flesh, shredding her torso into ribbons of blood and muscle. Bones cracked and snapped as she was pulled deeper into the grinding spiral. Her final scream was cut off abruptly with a wet crunch. Elliot fell backward onto the concrete, staring in horror as the creature swallowed the last of her body. For a moment, there was silence save for the drip of blood from its maw onto the floor. Then it spoke again. "Thank you. Hungry still. We are many. We are beneath. We are inside." Its body shivered and shifted, limbs retracting as it slid back into the containment chamber. The metal door bent and warped around its mass as it withdrew, black mucus bubbling up from the fissures in the floor. Naomi staggered backward, pulling Jonas and Camille with her. "We need to get the fuck out of here." "There has to be another way out," Jonas whispered, voice trembling as he clutched Camille tighter. Reza let out a strangled laugh from the corner. "There is no way out," he rasped, his eyes unfocused as his camera drooped in his hand. "This is the end. This is what waits for all of us." Naomi ignored him, dragging Elliot to his feet. He stumbled, staring blankly at the bubbling fissures in the concrete where Tamara had been devoured. "She wanted it," he whispered. She wanted it. "Forget her," Naomi spat, though her voice cracked. "She's gone. We're alive. Let's keep it that way." They stumbled out of the containment chamber into the narrow stairwell. The walls trembled as the creature's chorus of voices rose behind them, vibrating the entire sub-basement with their alien chant. "Skin. Skin. Skin. We will wear your skin." Reza followed slowly, his infected leg dragging behind him, leaving a thick black smear on the concrete. His camera filmed nothing but his feet and the dripping darkness around him. As he climbed, he began humming softly under his breath, the same lullaby the creature had sung to Camille. Jonas pushed Camille up the stairs, tears streaming down his face. "Don't listen, Cam. Don't listen to it." At the top of the stairs, Naomi slammed the hatch shut, sliding a rusted pipe through the handle to block it. She turned to the others, her chest heaving, sweat and tears mixing with the grime on her face. "Where now?" Elliot asked, his voice a lifeless monotone. Naomi wiped blood from her cheek, her eyes hard. "We find another exit. The asylum had underground service tunnels. They might lead out. And if they don't?" Jonas asked softly. Naomi's eyes met his, unblinking. "Then we keep moving until something kills us." Reza let out another choking laugh behind them, his voice gurgling with infection. "It doesn't matter. It's already inside us." They turned to look at him. His eyes had turned completely black, pupils swallowed by a spreading void. Black tears oozed down his cheeks as he smiled, his teeth clattering together in a wet, chitinous rhythm. And in that moment, Elliot realized with dawning horror, the patient beneath didn't just want their bodies. It wanted their minds. Their memories. Their skin to wear in the world above. They stumbled away from the hatch, their boots crunching over broken tile and debris as Naomi led them through the boiler room. The heavy silence pressed down around them, punctuated only by Reza's ragged, wet breathing and the faint drip of black water from the pipes overhead. Camille clung to Jonas, her face streaked with tears and grime. Elliot moved like a puppet, eyes empty, mind reeling with the image of Tamara's body disappearing into the churning teeth. His shoulder throbbed with burning pain, blood soaking his torn shirt. Naomi stopped at a rusted maintenance door and tried the handle. Locked. She slammed her shoulder against it, grunting with effort, but it didn't budge. "Help me," she hissed. Jonas set Camille down gently against the wall and moved to her side. Together, they shoved at the door until the hinges groaned and metal buckled, popping open into a pitch-black service tunnel. The air that drifted out was thick with the smell of old sewage, mildew, and something sharp and chemical. Naomi gagged slightly but stepped forward, her rebar held high. "This has to lead somewhere," she said. "Or nowhere," Reza rasped behind them, his voice bubbling with each breath. When they turned, they saw his face was now streaked with black veins pulsing beneath his skin. His eyes glistened with oil-dark fluid. "Reza," Elliot whispered. "We have to treat your leg." Reza looked down. His bitten leg was swollen and purple-black from groin to ankle, oozing dark pus that sizzled where it dripped onto the floor. He let out a wet laugh. "It doesn't hurt anymore," he whispered. "Nothing hurts anymore." Jonas shivered and turned away, helping Camille to her feet. "Let's go," Naomi ordered. They moved into the tunnel single file. Reza stumbled behind them, humming softly to himself. Musical notes "Rockabye Baby," in the treetop. Musical notes, his voice echoed off the walls in warbling distortion. The tunnel twisted and descended, lined with old rusted pipes. Pools of black water spread across the concrete, shimmering with oily rainbows in their headlamp beams. Thick clusters of mold clung to the walls in shapes resembling twisted, screaming faces. Elliot stumbled on a broken pipe and nearly fell into a puddle. Naomi grabbed his arm, steadying him. "Don't touch the water," she whispered. "You don't know what's in it." Jonas moved ahead, sweeping his light across junction signs. Service tunnels A and B, Tunnel A leads back to hydrotherapy, Tunnel B leads to the loading dock. "Loading dock," Naomi said immediately. "That's our way out." They turned down Tunnel B, boots sloshing through shallow sludge. Reza's humming grew louder as he limped along, the camera hanging limply from his blood-slicked fingers. Then he stopped humming and spoke, his voice echoing off the damp concrete. "Do you hear them whispering?" Camille whimpered softly, clinging to Jonas. "Don't listen," he murmured. But Elliot did listen. And he heard them. Faint voices slithered through the darkness, whispering in a language that wasn't made for human mouths. The words slid across his mind like oil, leaving a coating of dread behind them. He pressed his hands over his ears, but the whispers grew louder, bypassing flesh to curl directly into his thoughts. Naomi spun on Reza. "Shut up," she snapped. But Reza only smiled, his teeth coated in black slime. "They're calling us. They're already inside." He raised his camera with trembling fingers and turned it on himself. In the flickering LCD glow, his face was a grotesque mask of corruption. Veins pulsed black beneath his skin, eyes glassy and sightless. His mouth stretched into an unnatural grin as his lower jaw dislocated with a wet pop, dropping open far beyond normal limits. The whispers spilled from his mouth in a chorus of alien voices, echoing down the tunnel. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." His chest convulsed and split open with a slick, tearing sound. Black tendrils erupted from the wound, writhing and lashing across the tunnel walls, leaving streaks of rotting flesh wherever they touched. Camille screamed. Jonas pulled her back as Naomi lunged forward with her rebar, swinging it down onto Reza's skull. The impact sent a shockwave up her arms as his head caved in with a wet crack. The tendrils spasmed wildly, splattering black fluid across her face and chest. She swung again and again, roaring with rage and terror until Reza's body slumped forward, the tendrils going limp and retracting back into his chest. The tunnel fell silent except for her ragged breathing. Naomi staggered back, wiping blood and slime from her face. "We keep moving," she said hoarsely. Jonas guided Camille forward, her body shaking with silent sobs. Elliot stared at Reza's corpse, bile rising in his throat. He turned and stumbled after the group, his mind reeling with horror. They moved deeper into the tunnel until a faint light flickered ahead. Naomi quickened her pace, gripping her rebar tighter. As they drew closer, they saw an old metal door propped open with a broken pipe. Beyond it lay a massive concrete loading dock, filled with overturned gurneys, broken pallets, and rusted medical carts. Shafts of moonlight streamed through high windows lined with rusted bars. Camille let out a sob of relief. "We're out, we're out." But Jonas held her tighter, shaking his head. "No, no, Cam, look." Along the far wall stood dozens of human figures. They were naked and emaciated, their skin translucent with dark veins pulsing beneath. Their faces were blank, featureless flesh stretching where eyes and mouths should be. Each of them trembled with small convulsions, as if fighting something unseen. Naomi stepped forward, scanning the room. The figures turned toward her in unison, their movements jerky and unnatural. Then their skin rippled, shifting like a canvas stretched over something moving beneath. One by one, mouths split open across their blank faces. Rows of black, needle-like teeth gleamed in the moonlight. From deep within their throats came a chorus of broken, gurgling voices. "We are the patient beneath. We walk. We walk. We wear the skin." The nearest figure lunged forward, its limbs elongating with sharp cracks as bones snapped and reformed. Naomi swung her rebar, shattering its jaw. Black mucus sprayed across her face, burning where it touched her skin. "Run," she screamed. Jonas dragged Camille back through the door as Elliot grabbed Naomi's arm, pulling her after them. The creatures poured forward, their bodies twisting and bending at impossible angles, mouths opening and closing in a wet, chittering cacophony. They fled back into the service tunnel, the creatures' screeches echoing after them. The walls trembled with their approach, rust flakes drifting from overhead pipes like blood-red snow. Elliot felt tears streaming down his face, mixing with the grime and sweat. "We're not getting out," Jonas panted beside him, eyes wild with terror. "There's no out. There's only down." Naomi grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. "Listen to me. If there's a way in, there's a way out. They built this place to contain it, not worship it. There has to be an exit." Camille clung to Jonas, her small body trembling with silent sobs. Behind them, the creatures howled in rage and hunger, their clawed fingers scraping against concrete. And above the echoes of their screams, the whispers returned. "You are already here. You never left. The patient beneath wears all skins. Even yours." Elliot clapped his hands over his ears, shaking his head violently as the words wrapped around his mind like chains. He felt his sanity buckling under the weight of that alien chorus. Tears and blood blurred his vision as he stumbled after Naomi. They ran deeper into the tunnels, unaware that the path sloped downward with each step, carrying them further from the world above. Further into the dark. Further into the patient's waiting maw. They ran for what felt like hours, deeper and deeper into the labyrinth of tunnels. Their boots splashed through puddles of black water, and the walls closed in around them with every step. The air grew colder, thicker, tinged with rot and the coppery scent of blood. Naomi led, rebar clutched in both hands, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Behind her, Jonas half-carried Camille, her legs nearly giving out from exhaustion and shock. Elliot stumbled last, clutching his wounded shoulder, fighting to keep his head above the tide of whispers flooding his mind. "You are within. We are within. There is no without." The voices slithered across his thoughts, slick and cold, carrying with them images of bone saws cutting through flesh, eyes sewn shut with black thread, and mouths torn open into eternal screams. Each step felt heavier than the last, as though invisible hands clutched at his ankles, dragging him downward. They finally collapsed in a wide junction chamber, gasping for breath. The walls here were lined with rusted electrical panels and broken fuse boxes, their wires dangling like exposed veins. Faded signs on the concrete marked this as Maintenance Hub C. Camille curled against Jonas, whimpering softly, her eyes distant and unfocused. Naomi paced in tight circles, her shoulders heaving with silent fury. Elliot sat with his back against the wall, eyes unfocused, listening to the whispers echo through his skull. Jonas tore open their remaining first aid supplies. "We have to clean that bite again," he told Elliot. "You're burning up." Elliot didn't respond. He only stared into the flickering darkness, his lips moving silently, repeating words no human language contained. Naomi knelt beside him, gripping his chin and forcing him to meet her eyes. "Stay with me, Elliot. You hear me? Stay here." His gaze flickered, pupils dilating and contracting rapidly. "It's so loud," he whispered, tears brimming in his eyes. "They're all screaming. All of them." "Who's screaming?" Naomi demanded. He closed his eyes and shuddered. "The ones inside. The ones it ate." Jonas poured iodine over Elliot's bite wound, ignoring his hoarse cry of pain. The skin was swollen and streaked with dark red lines creeping toward his chest. Naomi pressed her forehead against the concrete wall, fighting down a rising wave of nausea and terror. "We need to move before those things catch up," she whispered. Jonas shook his head. "She can't go further right now," he said, nodding at Camille. "She's in shock. Then she dies here," Naomi snapped, turning on him. "We can't stay in one place. We're too close to it." Camille's eyes flickered, tears tracking through the grime on her cheeks. "Where are we going? There's nowhere left. We're already in hell." Naomi's jaw tightened. "No. Hell is merciful compared to this. We keep moving until we find the main drainage tunnels." The blueprints showed a waste outflow that connects to the river. "If it hasn't collapsed, we can crawl out." "And if it has?" Jonas asked softly. Naomi met his gaze, her eyes flat and hard. "Then we keep moving until we die." A soft, wet giggle echoed through the tunnel behind them. They froze. The giggle was followed by another, and then another, until the darkness thrummed with chittering laughter. Elliot trembled violently, clapping his hands over his ears. "They're coming," he gasped. "They're coming and they're wearing her voice." The laughter grew louder, resolving into a broken, childlike voice. Camille screamed, clutching Jonas with renewed strength. Naomi grabbed Elliot by his good arm, yanking him upright. "Move. Now." They stumbled forward into the darkness as dozens of pale shapes slithered from the tunnel behind them. The creatures' limbs twisted and bent at unnatural angles, their mouths splitting open into gaping maws filled with black needle teeth. The group sprinted down the tunnel, their headlamps flickering and dimming as they ran. The walls narrowed around them, damp concrete pressing close enough to scrape their shoulders. Ahead, a heavy steel grate blocked their path. Naomi slammed into it, shaking the rusted bars desperately. "Help me," she shouted. Jonas wedged his shoulder beneath the latch, grunting with effort. Elliot pressed against it weakly, vision swimming with fever and pain. Camille sobbed behind them, staring into the dark tunnel they had fled. The first creature emerged from the shadows, crawling on all fours. Its skin was translucent and veined with black ichor. Its head twisted fully around on its neck, face splitting open into 4 flaps lined with quivering teeth. A wet hiss rose from deep within its throat. Naomi screamed with rage and swung her rebar through the bars, smashing into its skull with a wet crunch. The creature convulsed, black fluid spraying across the grate, hissing as it touched metal. More creatures poured forward behind it, giggling in broken voices. With a final wrenching shove, Jonas ripped the grate free. Naomi dove through, dragging Camille with her. Elliot stumbled after them, collapsing on the other side. Jonas scrambled through last, pulling the grate back into place and wedging it shut with a rusted pipe. The creatures slammed against the bars, shrieking and clawing. Their voices rose in a chorus of whispers and broken laughter. "You can't leave. You never left. You are within. We are within." Naomi backed away from the grate, panting. Camille curled into a ball, her thin frame racked with silent sobs. Jonas sank to his knees, trembling. Elliot pressed his forehead against the cold concrete floor, tears dripping from his chin. "We're going to die here," he whispered. Naomi turned to him, her eyes blazing with fury and grief. "Not yet," she spat. "Get up." He shook his head weakly. "It's inside me. I can hear it, whispering my name." Naomi grabbed his face in both hands, forcing him to look at her. "Then tell it to shut the fuck up and move." For a moment, something sparked in Elliot's vacant gaze. He swallowed hard and nodded, staggering upright. Naomi turned away quickly before he could see the tears brimming in her own eyes. They moved deeper into the tunnel, leaving the creatures shrieking behind them. The air grew colder and wetter, carrying the stench of rotting water and sewage. Ahead, they saw another metal door, partially ajar. Naomi pushed it open with her rebar, revealing a massive cylindrical chamber lined with corroded pipes and dripping vents. A waist-deep pool of black water covered the floor. At the far end, a rusted maintenance ladder rose up into the shadows. Faint moonlight glimmered through a grating high above. Naomi stepped into the water, hissing as it burned her calves with chemical sting. "Come on," she snapped. Jonas lifted Camille into his arms, wading after her. Elliot followed last, each step sending new waves of feverish pain through his body. The whispers grew louder with each labored breath. "Closer. Closer. We will wear your skin." Naomi reached the ladder first and began climbing. The metal rungs were slick with slime and rust, biting into her palms. Jonas passed Camille up to her before clambering after. Elliot pressed his hand against the ladder, his vision blurring with tears. Behind them, the black water rippled. Something enormous moved beneath the surface, sending waves sloshing against the concrete walls. A low, rumbling growl filled the chamber, vibrating the water into dancing black peaks. Elliot looked back as a massive shape rose from the pool. A fleshy mound studded with human faces, all screaming silently, emerged from the darkness. Dozens of limbs slid from its body, clawed fingers reaching toward him. The whispers roared through his skull. "Come home." With a broken sob, Elliot grabbed the ladder and began to climb. Elliot climbed, each rung slick with rust and slime, his arms trembling from exhaustion and fever. The growling roar below rose into a cacophony of wet shrieks and guttural chants, shaking the ladder so violently that his vision blurred with every upward pull. Above him, Naomi reached the grated opening and slammed her shoulder into it. Moonlight filtered through the rust-eaten bars, illuminating her face with a pale, ghostly glow. Her jaw clenched as she pressed harder, metal screeching against its corroded hinges. Jonas clambered up behind her, one arm wrapped around Camille as she clung to him limply, her eyes glazed and unfocused. Below, Elliot could hear the churning water as the thing in the tunnel rose higher, voices erupting from its shifting mass. "Come home. Come home. Come home." Elliot choked back a sob, pushing himself up another rung. His shoulder burned with feverish agony, his infected wound pulsing in rhythm with the whispers gnawing at the edges of his sanity. As he climbed, his headlamp flickered, casting jittering shadows across the ladder cage. Naomi grunted, shoving against the grate one final time. It snapped free with a rusted crack, falling outward into a pile of damp leaves and dirt. Cold night air swept into the tunnel, washing over them with the smell of wet earth and decaying pine needles. "Up!" Naomi hissed, hauling herself through the opening. Jonas boosted Camille through, then followed, his boots scraping against the metal rungs. Elliot reached the top last, gasping as Naomi grabbed his good arm and yanked him onto the forest floor. They collapsed together, chests heaving, heads spinning under the dizzying clarity of moonlight. The forest spread around them in towering black silhouettes. The asylum loomed behind the trees like a massive, rotting cathedral, its windows empty and dark. Camille curled into Jonas' lap, trembling with silent sobs. Naomi stood, scanning the tree line with her rebar raised. Elliot lay on his back, staring up at the moon as the whispers in his head grew quieter, though never fully silent. "We're out," Jonas gasped, pressing his forehead against Camille's hair. "Oh God, we're out." Naomi turned to him, her eyes dark and hollow. "No," she whispered. "We're not." Elliot sat up, wincing at the fever burning through his veins. What do you mean?" Naomi gestured at the tree-line. Through the shadows, they saw them, pale figures standing in the dark between the trees. Dozens of them. Their naked bodies quivered with silent convulsions. Their heads twitched at unnatural angles. Some had faces split open into screaming maws. Others had no faces at all. Their mouths moved in silent mimicry, then a chorus of whispers rose from their ranks, "You are within. There is no without. We are you." Elliot felt his bladder release as his limbs locked with terror. Camille screamed, burying her face in Jonas' chest. Naomi raised her rebar with shaking hands, tears slipping down her blood-stained cheeks. The creatures began to move forward, their limbs lengthening with slick cracks. Some dropped onto all fours, scuttling like spiders across the pine needles. Others rose tall, limbs stretching so far their hands dragged across the forest floor, clawed fingers carving deep furrows into the damp earth. "Run," Naomi whispered. But Elliot didn't move. He stared at them with wide, glazed eyes, the fever searing away what remained of his sanity. "They're in my head," he said softly. "I can feel them moving inside my skull." Naomi grabbed his face, forcing his eyes to meet hers. "Focus on me, Elliot. Stay with me. We need to move." But he didn't see her. Not really. In his mind, the forest split apart, revealing a gaping wound in the earth, lined with teeth and slick with black mucus. From that wound, a voice spoke in a broken mimicry of Tamara, "Come home, Elliot. It's warm inside." Naomi slapped him hard across the cheek. His head snapped sideways, and for a fleeting moment, clarity returned. The whispers quieted, leaving only the echo of her voice in his ears. "Move," she screamed. He stumbled to his feet as Jonas hauled Camille up. Together, they fled into the forest, boots sinking into damp soil, breath ragged in the cold night air. Behind them, the creatures poured forward, screeching and chittering in broken laughter. They crashed through brambles and fallen logs, branches whipping across their faces and tearing at their clothing. The asylum loomed behind them, windows flickering with dim orange light as shadows moved inside like flocks of writhing insects. Ahead, the trees thinned, revealing a chain-link fence tangled with blackberry vines. Beyond it lay the cracked asphalt of the old access road, their abandoned suburban visible under the moonlight, doors still open from their earlier flight. Naomi reached the fence first, throwing her rebar over and climbing. The metal rattled under her weight, rusted links snapping in places. Jonas boosted Camille over next before following, hands slick with sweat and blood. Elliot grabbed the fence, his infected shoulder screaming in agony as he pulled himself up. Black dots danced across his vision. The whispers rose again in his mind, pulsing with each beat of his fevered heart. Closer. 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 He reached the top, swinging one leg over, when a clawed hand seized his ankle. The world tilted sideways as he was yanked back. His head smashed against the metal post, sparks of pain erupting behind his eyes as he fell onto the forest floor. Naomi screamed his name. Jonas turned back, eyes wide with terror. Elliot lay on his back, staring up into the eyeless face of a creature looming over him. Its mouth split open, revealing rows of black needle teeth dripping with mucus. A chorus of wet whispers rose from deep within its throat, "We wear your skin." It lunged forward, its mouth engulfing his entire face. Elliot's scream was muffled, swallowed by the thing pressing down against him. Its teeth sank into his cheeks, tearing through flesh and cartilage. Warm blood filled his throat as the whispers roared in his mind. Then everything went black. Naomi screamed, reaching through the fence. But Jonas grabbed her, dragging her back toward the SUV. Camille sobbed in the back seat as Jonas threw open the driver's door and shoved Naomi inside. "We have to leave him," he shouted, his voice cracking with grief. "No!" Naomi shrieked, pounding her fists against the dashboard. "We can't leave him. We can't." But Jonas was already starting the engine. The headlights flared to life, illuminating the fence where Elliot's body lay twisted and broken. Dozens of creatures crowded around him, their mouths splitting open in silent, quivering laughter. Naomi pressed her hand against the window, tears blurring her vision. As Jonas slammed the gas pedal and the SUV roared down the cracked asphalt, the last thing she saw in the mirror was Elliot's face. He was standing now, swaying unsteadily. His eyes were gone, replaced by black pits that wept oily tears. His mouth split open wider than humanly possible, revealing rows of jagged teeth. And from that mouth came a chorus of whispers. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." The SUV roared down the cracked asphalt, its headlights cutting thin tunnels of light through the dense forest. Naomi pressed her fists against the dashboard, her chest heaving with silent sobs. Jonas gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles whitened, his eyes fixed unblinking on the road ahead. In the back seat, Camille curled into a tight ball, her head pressed against the window. Her eyes were wide and glassy, reflecting the blurred shapes of trees whipping past outside. She rocked back and forth, whispering to herself in a thin, broken voice. "Don't look at them, don't look at them, don't look at them." Naomi turned in her seat, reaching for Camille's hand. "We're okay, baby girl. We're okay. We're out." But even as she said the words, her stomach twisted with dread. The asylum's looming silhouette still burned behind her eyelids. Elliot's torn face. The black pits where his eyes had been. The whispers. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." The words slithered through her thoughts like parasites, leaving trails of ice wherever they touched. She pressed her palms against her temples, trying to squeeze them out. Jonas' voice cracked as he spoke, barely louder than the engine hum. "We need to find help. A hospital. Police. Anyone." Naomi shook her head numbly. "Who would believe us? Who would believe any of this?" He didn't answer. The road twisted through the forest, the pavement broken by roots and erosion. The night was silent except for the SUV's tires crunching over gravel and the fading rattle of loose metal in the undercarriage. Camille's rocking slowed. She lifted her head slightly, her voice so small Naomi almost missed it. "Jonas, where are we?" He glanced at her in the mirror. "We're on the old forest access road, Cam. We'll hit Highway 14 in a few miles. Then we'll get help." Naomi frowned, staring out the window. The trees beyond were dark, but she saw no moonlight breaking through the canopy. The forest felt wrong, too dense, too silent, as if the world outside the glass wasn't really there. She turned back to the windshield and felt her breath catch. Ahead, the road ended at a rusted chain-link gate tangled with blackberry vines. Beyond it loomed the massive silhouette of a building, four wings curled around a dark courtyard like a monstrous claw. Marlowe Asylum. Jonas slammed on the brakes. The SUV skidded to a stop, gravel spraying across the asphalt. Camille let out a strangled sob, covering her mouth with both hands. Naomi stared at the asylum, her heart thundering in her chest. "No," she whispered. "No, we drove away. We drove away." Jonas reversed, tires screeching as the vehicle spun back down the road. He pressed the accelerator, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The forest blurred past, trees whipping by in streaks of black and gray. But within minutes, the chain-link gate appeared again ahead of them, the asylum looming beyond. Jonas screamed, slamming the steering wheel with both fists. "No. No, 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 and no." Camille sobbed uncontrollably in the back seat, her entire body shaking with terror. Naomi gripped Jonas' arm, her nails digging into his skin. "Stop," she whispered. "Stop the car." He shook his head violently. "No. We can't stop. We can't go back. Stop the car." Naomi screamed. The SUV skidded to a halt once more. For a moment, the forest fell silent around them. Only their ragged breathing filled the darkness. Naomi let go of his arm, tears streaking through the grime on her face. "It's not real," she whispered. "None of this is real. It's making us see what it wants." Jonas shook his head, tears brimming in his eyes. "Then what do we do?" Naomi looked at Camille, then back at the asylum beyond the gate. "We go back." Camille let out a choked sob. "No, please, no." Naomi turned in her seat, gripping Camille's hands tightly. "Listen to me, Cam. We can't run from it. It's inside us already. The only way out is through." Jonas swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing in his throat. "Through what?" Naomi's eyes flickered with a grim certainty. "Through the patient beneath." She opened the door, stepping out into the cold night air. The forest was silent around them, the trees looming like sentinels carved from shadow. Jonas followed her, helping Camille out of the back seat. Together, they approached the chain-link gate. The padlock that once sealed it lay broken on the ground. Naomi pushed it open, the hinges squealing in protest. As they stepped onto the cracked asphalt of the asylum courtyard, Camille clung to Jonas' arm, her knees trembling with each step. The windows of the asylum yawned open before them, black and empty, whispering secrets they couldn't hear but felt deep in their bones. Naomi led them through the main entrance, boots crunching over broken glass and fallen plaster. The smell of mildew, rot, and ammonia wrapped around them like a wet shroud. In the recreation hall, the piano still sat warped and silent, keys split and swollen with damp. Graffiti covered the walls, twisted symbols resembling broken rib cages, screaming mouths, and eyeless faces weeping black tears. Camille whimpered softly. "Why are we here?" Naomi turned to her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Because it wants us here. And if it wants us here, then this is where we end it." Jonas swallowed hard. "End it, how?" Naomi didn't answer. She turned and moved down the east hallway, past the hydrotherapy ward, toward the boiler room. The darkness pressed around them with every step, whispering promises of warmth, of silence, of belonging. They reached the boiler room hatch. The rusted padlock lay snapped in half on the concrete floor. Naomi knelt and pried the hatch open, revealing the narrow stairwell descending into the sub-basement. The smell hit them immediately, ammonia, rotting flesh, and old blood. Camille shook her head violently, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Please, please no. I don't want to go down there." Naomi turned to her, her voice breaking as she spoke. "I know, baby girl. I know. But we don't have a choice." Jonas placed a trembling hand on Naomi's shoulder. "If we die down there, if it takes us," Naomi closed her eyes, feeling fresh tears spill onto her cheeks. "Then at least we tried." Together, they descended into the dark. The containment chamber was exactly as they had left it. Black ooze bubbled from the fissures in the floor, filling the air with the smell of decay and burned hair. The metal door at the far end still buckled outward, trembling with something massive shifting behind it. Camille collapsed to her knees, sobbing silently. Jonas knelt beside her, pulling her into his arms. Naomi stepped forward, her rebar raised, her boots leaving prints in the black sludge as she approached the door. The whispers rose around her, vibrating her bones. "Come home. Come home. We are waiting." She pressed her palm against the cold metal, feeling it pulse beneath her touch, like a heartbeat echoing from something buried deep within the earth. Naomi turned back to Jonas and Camille, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "This ends tonight." The door creaked and buckled further, black mucus oozing from its seams. And from within, something spoke, "Welcome home." The door groaned and buckled outward, metal bending under immense pressure from the other side. Naomi felt it vibrate against her palm, its cold surface pulsing like diseased flesh. Behind her, Jonas pulled Camille closer to his chest. Her trembling body pressed into him, tears soaking through his shirt as she stared at the floor, refusing to look at the door. The whispers filled the chamber now, echoing from every rusted panel and fissured concrete wall. They rose and fell like a chorus, vibrating their bones, rattling their teeth with each alien syllable, "Come home. Come home. We are the patient beneath. We are within you. You are within us." Naomi tightened her grip on the rebar until her knuckles ached. The black sludge bubbling up from the floor hissed and steamed around her boots, biting into the rubber soles with chemical burn. But she didn't move. "Naomi," Jonas whispered, his voice trembling. "What are we doing here?" She turned slightly, her eyes glazed with tears. "Ending it." "How?" he demanded. "How do we end it?" Before she could answer, the metal door bent outward with a final screeching shriek, snapping its hinges and slamming onto the concrete floor with a deafening crash. Behind it loomed the patient beneath. Its mass filled the containment chamber beyond, a writhing mountain of black flesh, layered in rippling folds slick with mucus and streaked with veins that pulsed like luminous worms. Dozens of limbs slid across the concrete, clawed hands scraping deep furrows into the floor. Its central maw gaped wide, spiraling rows of needle teeth churning wetly, leaking thick black drool that hissed where it fell. Faces pushed against its flesh from within, twisted human visages, eyes wide with silent screams, their lips moving in a soundless chorus of agony. The whispers roared in Naomi's skull, "We are the end. We are the beginning. Come home. Come home." Jonas clutched Camille tighter as she buried her face against his chest, sobbing with silent terror. His own tears fell into her hair, hot and hopeless. Naomi stepped forward. The creature's nearest limb reached for her, clawed fingers trembling with anticipation. The smell rolling off its body was overpowering, rot, ammonia, rust, and the sour tang of infection. Naomi raised her rebar. "Naomi," Jonas choked. "What are you doing?" She turned her head slightly, tears streaking down her dirt-smeared cheeks. "If it wants me," she whispered, her voice breaking, "then it can have me. But it doesn't get you." Before Jonas could move, she lunged forward. The creature screamed, its maw widening with hunger as it reached for her. Naomi swung her rebar with all her strength, slamming it into the nearest limb. Black mucus sprayed across her face, burning her skin with acidic sting. The patient beneath roared, the sound vibrating the entire chamber, shaking concrete dust from the ceiling in choking clouds. Its claws seized her arm, squeezing until the bones cracked. Naomi screamed, but swung again with her free hand, driving the rebar into its pulsing veins. Another limb coiled around her torso, lifting her off the floor. Its maw gaped beneath her, teeth churning eagerly. The whispers rose to deafening volume, rattling her skull with every syllable, "We will wear your skin. We will see through your eyes. We will know your memories. We will be you." "No!" Naomi screamed, blood pouring from her nose and ears as the sound tore at her mind. "You don't get me." She swung her rebar one final time, driving it deep into the creature's open mouth. The metal rod sank between its spiraling teeth, sparking as it scraped bone and chitin. The patient beneath convulsed violently, dropping her onto the concrete floor. Its limbs lashed the chamber walls, cracking tiles and warping metal panels. Naomi crawled backward, her broken arm hanging limp at her side. Her vision swam with blood and tears, but she saw Jonas, his eyes locked on hers, filled with grief and horror. "Run!" she screamed. He hesitated only a moment before pulling Camille to her feet. Together, they fled back up the narrow stairwell, their boots slamming against rusted steel steps as the chamber behind them erupted into chaos. Naomi lay on her back, staring up at the flickering fluorescent lights overhead. The whispers pounded against her mind, black spots swimming across her vision as blood trickled from her ears. The patient beneath roared again, and she felt its limbs close around her legs, dragging her across the slime-slick floor. As its maw widened above her, she closed her eyes and whispered a single prayer into the darkness, "Don't let it take them." Jonas and Camille burst into the boiler room, the hatch slamming shut behind them with a metallic crash. The building trembled beneath their feet, the muffled roars of the creature echoing up through the pipes and vents. Camille stumbled, falling to her knees as sobs racked her small frame. Jonas fell beside her, pulling her into his arms, pressing his forehead to hers. "We're going to make it, Cam," he whispered, his tears soaking her hair. "We're going to make it." But even as he said it, he felt the truth gnawing at the back of his mind. There was no making it. There was no outside. The whispers rose again, vibrating the floor beneath them. "You are within. There is no without. We are you. You are us." Camille sobbed harder, clutching her brother's shirt with trembling fingers. Jonas pressed his lips to her forehead, squeezing his eyes shut as hot tears spilled down his cheeks. "Shoo," he whispered. "Don't listen. Don't listen to them." But the whispers slithered deeper, wrapping around their thoughts, tightening with each beat of their hearts. From somewhere in the darkness behind them came the sound of footsteps, wet, dragging footsteps approaching slowly. Jonas turned, his heart hammering against his ribs. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Naomi. But it wasn't. Her skin was pale and stretched tight across her bones. Her eyes were black pits, weeping oily tears down her hollow cheeks. Her mouth split open wider than any human jaw could, revealing rows of jagged, needle teeth. And from that mouth came a chorus of whispers, "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." Jonas screamed, pulling Camille behind him as the thing wearing Naomi's body lunged forward, mouth widening into a grotesque, dripping maw. Jonas shoved Camille behind him, bracing himself against the rusted boiler room wall. Naomi, or what wore her face, lurched forward, wet footsteps slapping against the cracked linoleum. Its mouth split wider, jaws unhinging with a slick, popping sound. Rows of black needle teeth glistened with thick mucus, and from that gaping maw came the chorus, "We hear you. We see you. We will wear your skin." Camille sobbed, clutching Jonas' shirt. He could feel her trembling against his back, her breath coming in rapid, broken gasps. His own chest heaved as adrenaline and terror surged through his veins. "Naomi," he whispered, tears brimming in his eyes. "Please, if you're still in there, please." The creature tilted its head, oily tears dripping from its black pits of eyes. Then it spoke in Naomi's broken, trembling voice, layered beneath the whispers, "Jonas, run." He felt his knees buckle as grief tore through him. But there was no time. The creature lunged, its clawed fingers outstretched, mouth yawning wide to engulf his face. Jonas swung his flashlight, smashing it into its temple. The beam cracked and died, plunging the room into shadow as glass shards scattered across the floor. The creature screamed, reeling back. Its voice shifted instantly from Naomi's to a guttural roar that rattled the boiler pipes overhead. Jonas grabbed Camille's hand and bolted for the door. Together they fled down the east corridor, boots slamming against broken tile. Behind them, the creature gave chase, its wet footsteps echoing off the walls in rapid, unnatural rhythm. "Jonas!" Camille sobbed. "Where are we going?" He didn't answer. He didn't know. Every hallway twisted into another, each turn revealing the same peeling plaster, the same gurneys rusted into place, the same dark murals of screaming faces hidden under mold. They stumbled into the recreation hall, moonlight spilling through shattered windows. The warped piano loomed ahead, keys broken and slick with mildew. Jonas pulled Camille to the far side of the room and crouched behind an overturned table, clutching her trembling shoulders. "Quiet," he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "Don't make a sound." Camille nodded, biting her lips to muffle her sobs. The footsteps entered the room moments later. Jonas peered through a crack in the table's side and saw it. The creature moved in jerks and spasms, its limbs twisting at impossible angles, mouth hanging open as black drool dripped onto the cracked tile. Its eyes rolled in its skull, black pits glistening with tears of oil. It sniffed the air, head twitching left and right with quick, bird-like movements. Then its mouth snapped shut, and it stood perfectly still. For a moment, the room fell silent save for Camille's muffled sobs and Jonah's trembling breath. Then the creature tilted its head and spoke again in Naomi's voice, "Jonas. Camille, come out. It's okay. It's safe now." Jonas clenched his teeth so hard his jaw throbbed with pain. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but he stayed silent. The creature's head snapped toward their hiding place, its black eyes unblinking. "We see you," it whispered, the voice echoing from within its chest like 100 hollow throats. It lunged forward, limbs stretching with sharp cracks as bones lengthened and joints dislocated. Jonas screamed, grabbing Camille and rolling sideways just as clawed fingers smashed through the table, splintering wood and sending mold spores drifting through the moonlight. He scrambled to his feet, dragging Camille with him. They ran for the hallway, but the creature was too fast. It scuttled across the ceiling, limbs bending backward as it dropped down in front of them, blocking their escape. It opened its mouth again, revealing a second set of jaws deeper inside, dripping black mucus onto the floor. From within came a chorus of broken voices, whispering in perfect unison, "We are within you. You are within us. Come home." Camille screamed, covering her ears. Jonas grabbed a rusted metal pole from the debris and swung it at the creature's face. It slammed into its jaw with a wet crunch, dislocating it further, but the creature didn't flinch. It lunged forward, claws sinking into Jonas' chest, ripping through flesh and bone with terrifying ease. He screamed, blood spraying across the peeling mural behind him. The creature lifted him off the floor, holding him aloft as his legs kicked uselessly against the broken tile. Camille shrieked, pounding her fists against its arms. The creature turned its head toward her, mouth widening further until its jaws split down the neck, opening into a gaping, black maw lined with writhing tendrils tipped in tiny teeth. From that void came a wet, whispering chorus, "We will wear your skin." Jonas choked on blood, his vision blurring. With the last of his strength, he pressed his forehead to Camille's. "Run," he gasped. Then the creature's jaws closed around his head. There was a sickening crack as his skull collapsed under the pressure, his body falling limp in its grasp. Camille screamed, stumbling backward into the recreation hall. She tripped over the fallen table and crawled away on her hands and knees, sobs tearing from her throat. The creature dropped Jonas' body onto the floor. It convulsed violently, its limbs cracking and twisting as his form shrank into its mass. Then, slowly, it stood upright. Jonas' face stared back at her. His eyes were black pits, weeping oily tears. His mouth split into a grotesque smile lined with blackened, needle-like teeth. "Camille," it said in Jonas' voice, layered with a dozen others. "Don't run. Come home." She sobbed, shaking her head violently as tears streamed down her cheeks. "You're not him. You're not him." The creature stepped forward, its limbs stretching and twisting, reshaping themselves into Jonas' arms, Jonas' hands, Jonas' smile. "Don't be scared," it whispered. "I'm here now. Everything will be okay." Camille screamed and scrambled to her feet, sprinting down the hallway, boots slipping on mildew-slick tile. Behind her, the creature's footsteps followed, echoing with wet slaps and dragging claws. She fled past hydrotherapy, past the sealed solitary ward, past the empty patient rooms lined with rusted bed frames and rotting mattresses. The whispers rose around her, vibrating the walls with each breath. "You never left. We are within you. You are within us." She stumbled into the administration wing, her tears blurring the moonlight streaming through broken windows. Ahead, The double doors to the courtyard loomed. She sprinted forward, slamming into them with her full weight. They burst open into the cool night air. Camille collapsed onto the cracked asphalt, sobs tearing from her throat as she crawled away from the doors. Behind her, the creature stepped into the moonlight. Its body was shifting, flickering between Jonas' form and Naomi's, their voices layering together with 100 others, whispering in unison, "Come home, Camille. Come home." She screamed, crawling backward until her hands scraped against gravel. The creature stepped closer, reaching for her with clawed fingers that trembled with anticipation. "Camille," it whispered, its mouth splitting into a jagged, tooth-filled grin. "Let us wear your skin." And in that moment, as its claws closed around her shoulders, Camille realized with suffocating clarity, there was never an outside. There was only the patient beneath. Camille screamed as the creature's claws closed around her shoulders, sinking through her thin jacket and into the flesh beneath. She kicked and writhed, tears blurring her vision as it leaned down, its mouth splitting into a jagged maw lined with black needle teeth. "Camille," it whispered, Jonas' voice layered beneath Naomi's, beneath 100 others. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." She felt hot breath wash over her face, thick with the stench of rotting milk and ammonia. Her stomach convulsed, bile rising in her throat as she gagged, choking back sobs. The creature's black eyes wept oily tears that dripped onto her cheeks, burning her skin with chemical sting. She shut her eyes tight, sobbing silently. Then, somewhere deep within her memory, a voice spoke. Faint. Loving. Her mother's voice, years before her death. "When you're scared, baby, remember what makes you brave. Remember who you are." Camille's eyes snapped open. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her chest burning with terror and adrenaline. She clenched her teeth, feeling something deep within her, something she thought the asylum had already taken, ignite with defiance. "No," she whispered. The creature cocked its head, its jagged grin widening. "No," it echoed. Camille's hands shot upward, grabbing its wrists with trembling fingers. She felt its flesh pulse and writhe beneath her grip, as though clutching a sack of living worms. Gagging, she pushed back against its claws, forcing its face away from hers. "No," she screamed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You can't have me. You can't have me." The creature shrieked, its voice splitting into a discordant cacophony that rattled the cracked asphalt beneath them. Its claws tore into her shoulders, hot blood gushing down her arms, but she didn't stop pushing. With a wet, tearing roar, it flung her aside. Camille crashed into a rusted gurney, the impact driving the air from her lungs. She gasped and coughed, tasting blood as she scrambled to her feet. The creature lunged forward, limbs elongating with sharp, cracking sounds. Its mouth opened wider, unhinging completely as a writhing black tongue slithered free, tipped with hundreds of tiny teeth. Camille grabbed the gurney and shoved it forward. The rusted wheels screeched against the cracked asphalt as it slammed into the creature's chest, knocking it back slightly. It roared, flinging the gurney aside as though it weighed nothing. She turned and fled back into the asylum, boots slamming against broken tile, tears streaming down her face. Behind her, the creature gave chase, its wet footsteps echoing through the halls. Camille ran past the hydrotherapy ward, the solitary wing, the recreation hall where Jonas' blood still stained the piano's warped wood. She ran until her lungs burned and her vision blurred with exhaustion and grief. Finally, her legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees in the main lobby, moonlight streaming through the broken skylight overhead. The silence pressed around her like a shroud, suffocating and absolute. For a moment, there was only the sound of her ragged breathing and the faint drip of water from cracked pipes above. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Wet. Heavy. She turned slowly, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might shatter her ribs. The creature stepped into the moonlight. Its limbs bent at impossible angles, its flesh rippling and shifting. Faces pushed against its skin from within, their eyes wide with silent screams. Its mouth split open into a grin lined with teeth that extended all the way down its throat. It stepped closer, its claws clicking against the tile. "Camille," it whispered, Jonah's voice weeping beneath Naomi's, beneath a chorus of dozens more. "Come home." She sobbed, shaking her head. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why us?" The creature tilted its head. From deep within its throat came a sound like 100 broken voices sobbing in unison. "Because you looked." Camille's vision blurred with tears. She backed away slowly, but her boots slipped in a puddle of black water spreading across the floor. She fell hard, her head slamming against cracked tile. Pain exploded through her skull, sparks of white light dancing behind her eyes. The creature loomed over her, its mouth opening so wide she saw writhing shadows flickering deep within its chest cavity. Its whispers washed over her in suffocating waves. "We will wear your skin. We will wear your mind. We will be you. You will be us." It lunged down, jaws snapping open. Camille screamed and flung her arms up, bracing for the pain. But instead, the creature froze. Its body convulsed violently, limbs jerking with sharp cracks as its black eyes rolled back into its skull. It reared back, screaming in a chorus of broken voices that rattled the skylight overhead. Camille blinked through tears, confusion flickering across her grief-ravaged face. Then she saw it. Behind the creature, emerging from the shadows, came a second figure. Its skin was pale and slick with black mucus, limbs twisted and broken. Its chest was split open, revealing ribs gnawed clean of flesh. Its mouth hung open, and from within came a whisper she knew, "Camille." Her heart seized in her chest. "Jonas," she whispered. The corpse stepped forward, black tears dripping from its empty eye sockets. "Camille, run," it whispered, voice rattling from deep within its hollow chest. The creature screamed again, its limbs flailing wildly. The corpse stepped closer, reaching out with trembling, broken fingers. Camille sobbed, crawling backward across the slick tile. The corpse fell to its knees beside her, its mouth opening wider, unhinging until the jaw cracked free. From deep within its throat came a chorus of familiar voices, Naomi. Jonas. Elliot. Tamara. Reza. All layered together in perfect, broken harmony. "We are within you. You are within us. Come home." The creature lunged forward, jaws wide. And in that instant, Camille felt something break inside her, a thin membrane between sanity and madness tearing apart like rotted cloth. She screamed, the sound raw and primal, echoing off the lobby walls. Her voice rose into a shriek of grief, terror, and rage, vibrating the cracked glass overhead until it rained down around her in jagged shards. The creature froze mid-lunge, its limbs locking, its mouth twitching spasmodically. Camille's scream rose higher, blood pouring from her nose and ears as her vision blurred with tears and pain. The whispers roared around her, vibrating the walls and floor, "We hear you. We see you. We are you." Her scream broke into sobs as she collapsed forward onto the slick tile, her vision fading to black. The last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her was the creature's mouth closing over her head, its teeth sinking into her skin with wet, tearing sounds. Then there was only silence. And whispers. Camille drifted in suffocating darkness. There was no floor beneath her, no ceiling above, only a vast expanse of nothingness pressing tight around her body like damp cloth. The whispers moved through the dark, weaving in and out of her thoughts, flickering across her memories with cold, dissecting fingers. We hear you. We see you. We are you. She opened her eyes and found herself standing in the recreation hall. The broken piano sat before her, keys warped and splitting under fungal blooms. The smell of ammonia, mildew, and rotting blood clung to her lungs with each trembling breath. Jonas sat at the piano bench. His back was to her. His head hung forward at an unnatural angle, his shoulders twitching with small spasms. Jonas, she whispered, tears filling her eyes. Jonas, please, he turned slowly. His face was pale and sagging, eyes black pits that wept oily tears. His mouth hung open, revealing rows of jagged, black needle teeth. When he spoke, his voice was layered beneath dozens of others. We are you. Camille screamed, stumbling backward into the peeling mural of eyeless children holding hands around an oak tree. Their painted mouths split open, revealing rows of teeth that extended down into their necks. The mural rippled and pulsed, mold blooming across their bodies like cancerous growths. She clamped her hands over her ears as the whispers rose into a deafening chorus. We see you. We hear you. We wear your skin. The world flickered and shifted. She was in the solitary wing now, staring down the rusted hallway lined with locked cell doors. From within each cell came the sound of scratching, wet sobbing, and broken laughter. Camille, she turned. Naomi stood at the end of the hall, her eyes sunken and hollow, mouth splitting into a jagged grin lined with hundreds of tiny teeth. Camille, she whispered again, her voice broken and trembling. Help me. Camille stumbled forward, her boots slipping on cracked linoleum slick with black water. Naomi reached out, her arms elongating, stretching down the hall with impossible length. Her fingers wrapped around Camille's shoulders, squeezing until bone cracked. Help me, Naomi screamed, her voice splintering into the chorus. The world flickered again. She was in the sub-basement, staring at the containment door. It pulsed and throbbed, black mucus oozing from its seams. The whispers grew louder, vibrating the concrete beneath her knees. Come home. Come home. We are waiting. The door burst open, metal buckling outward. The patient beneath spilled forth, a mass of black flesh studded with screaming human faces, dozens of clawed limbs reaching forward. Its central maw gaped open, spiraling teeth churning with anticipation. From within its depths, she saw them all, Naomi. Jonas. Elliot. Tamara. Reza. Their faces were twisted into silent screams, their eyes weeping black tears, their mouths stretched impossibly wide, revealing the same rows of jagged teeth. Camille, they whispered in unison, voices echoing from deep within the creature's belly. Come home, she screamed, clutching her head as the whispers split her mind apart. Pain tore through her skull like red-hot wires. Blood streamed from her nose and ears as her vision blurred. Then everything fell silent. She was kneeling in the darkness again. The whispers were gone. The air was still and cold around her. For a moment, her sobs were the only sound echoing through the void. Then a single voice spoke behind her. You don't belong here. Camille turned slowly. A woman stood before her, wearing a faded hospital gown stained with old blood. Her face was gaunt, sunken eyes rimmed with dark circles, hair long and matted against her hollow cheeks. Thick sutures ran down her scalp like a grotesque zipper. Camille swallowed hard, her throat raw with tears. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head, her voice hollow and echoing in the darkness. "I was patient 47. The first nest." Camille trembled. "Nest." The woman nodded slowly. "They opened me. They thought madness was a doorway. They tore open my mind. My soul. They let it in." Camille choked back a sob. "What is it? What is the patient beneath?" The woman's empty eyes glistened with oily tears. "It was never a patient. It was something waiting to be born. Something that needed a vessel. They gave it one. Me." Camille shook her head violently. "I don't understand, why us? Why me?" The woman stepped forward, her bare feet silent in the void. "Because you looked. Because you saw. Because you heard its voice. Now it is within you, as it is within me." Camille's tears spilled down her cheeks. "How do I stop it? Please." "I don't want to die here." The woman placed a cold, trembling hand against Camille's chest. Her touch burned like ice. "You don't die here," she whispered. "You become it." Camille sobbed, shaking her head violently. "No." The woman's mouth split open into a jagged grin lined with black teeth. "There is no outside, Camille. There is only the patient. Beneath. Within." The whispers roared back into her mind, vibrating the darkness with suffocating force. "Come home. Come home. We will wear your skin." The world flickered again. She was standing in the recreation hall once more. Moonlight spilled through shattered windows, illuminating the warped piano. The mural behind her pulsed with rot and mold. And around her stood dozens of creatures. Their pale bodies quivered with silent spasms. Their heads twitched at unnatural angles. Some wore Jonah's face. Others Naomi's. Others faces she didn't recognize at all. They moved forward in unison, whispering as one. "You are within us. We are within you. Come home." Camille screamed, pressing her back against the broken piano. Tears streamed down her cheeks as her chest heaved with ragged, choking sobs. One of the creatures stepped forward. Its mouth split open into a wide grin lined with rows of teeth. From within came a voice she would never forget. "Camille," Jonah's voice. "Don't fight it," he whispered. "It's better this way. Come home." She shook her head violently, sobbing. "No, please, no." But the creatures closed in around her, their whispers rising into a deafening chorus. "Come home." As their clawed fingers reached for her, the last thread of sanity within her mind snapped. And Camille finally understood what it meant to belong. Camille's scream died in her throat as the creatures closed in, their clawed fingers brushing against her skin with cold, damp touches. Their mouths split open into wide, jagged maws, revealing rows of black needle teeth dripping with viscous mucus. Their breath smelled of rot, ammonia, and something older than death. The whispers pulsed through her skull, vibrating her bones. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." One of them stepped closer, its pale, veined flesh twitching with silent convulsions. Its face flickered between Jonas and Naomi's, glitching like a corrupted image. Tears streamed down Camille's cheeks as she pressed her back against the piano, her chest heaving with silent sobs. "Please," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Please don't." The creature cocked its head, its mouth widening into a grotesque grin. Camille, it whispered in Jonas' voice, layered with Naomi's and dozens of others. You are home. Its claws reached for her face. She felt their cold tips brush her cheek, scraping away grime and blood with unnatural gentleness. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around her mind like chains, tightening with each breath. You never left. You were always here. You are us. Camille squeezed her eyes shut, her tears burning as they slid down her cheeks. Memories flickered across her mind, her mother's smile as she braided Camille's hair before school, Jonas lifting her onto his shoulders at the county fair, Naomi laughing as she flicked cigarette ash onto cracked asphalt. The whispers tore through those memories, shredding them into static before replacing them with new images, dark hallways lined with rusted doors, screaming patients strapped to gurneys, the patient beneath writhing in its black pit, mouth open wide in endless hunger. She screamed, clutching her head as pain exploded behind her eyes. Blood streamed from her nose and ears as her vision blurred with tears. The creature leaned down, its mouth opening impossibly wide. Its tongue slithered out, lined with hundreds of tiny teeth that wriggled in anticipation. Don't fight it, it whispered. We will make you whole. Its tongue pressed against her lips, sliding between them with obscene intimacy. She gagged, choking on the thick, bitter taste of rot and mold. The whispers roared in her skull, vibrating her jaw until her teeth felt like they would shatter. We will wear your skin. We will see through your eyes. We will be you. You will be us. Something inside her mind snapped. A thin membrane between sanity and madness tore apart with a soundless rip. Her body went limp, her hands falling away from her face. Tears streamed down her cheeks, mixing with black mucus that dripped from the creature's tongue. She heard a voice deep within her thoughts. Faint. Echoing. When you're scared, baby, remember what makes you brave. Remember who you are. Her mother's voice. Camille's eyes flickered open. For a moment, clarity cut through the suffocating darkness. Rage burned in her chest, rising through the terror like wildfire. She bit down hard. The creature screamed, its tongue tearing between her teeth. Thick black mucus filled her mouth, burning her tongue and throat with chemical sting. She spat it out, gasping and choking as the creature recoiled, its mouth opening in a silent shriek. Camille scrambled to her feet, grabbing a broken piano leg from the floor. Her vision blurred with tears and pain, but she swung it with all her strength, slamming it into the creature's jaw. Bones cracked and teeth shattered, spraying across the floor like broken glass. The whispers rose into a deafening chorus, vibrating the walls of the recreation hall. The mural behind her rippled and writhed, mold blooming across painted children's faces as their mouths split open into screaming maws. The creature lunged again, claws outstretched. Camille swung the piano leg a second time, splintering its skull. Black mucus sprayed across her chest, sizzling where it touched her skin. The creature fell backward, convulsing violently as its limbs spasmed and twisted. Around her, the other creatures began to scream. Their voices rose in perfect unison, echoing off the cracked tile and broken windows. She fights. She fights. Take her. They surged forward as one, their limbs stretching with wet cracks, mouths opening wide in anticipation. Camille screamed and turned, running toward the hallway. Her boots slipped on blood and mucus-slicked tile as she fled down the dark corridor. The whispers chased her, slithering through her thoughts with suffocating force. You cannot escape. You are within. We are within. She stumbled into the administration wing, her chest heaving with ragged breaths. Papers lay scattered across the floor, curling and blackened with mold. Filing cabinets stood warped and rusted, their drawers hanging open like silent screams. Camille fell against the far wall, clutching her chest as tears streamed down her cheeks. Her body trembled with exhaustion, blood loss, and the burn of black mucus still lingering in her throat. The whispers quieted for a moment, replaced by a single, broken voice echoing through the darkness. Camille, she looked up, her vision swimming. Elliot stood in the doorway. His skin was pale and sagging, his eyes two black pits weeping oily tears. His mouth opened into a jagged smile lined with needle teeth. "Camille," he whispered again, his voice layered with the chorus. "Don't run. Come home." She sobbed, shaking her head violently. "You're not him. You're not any of them." His grin widened, splitting his cheeks open to reveal more rows of teeth stretching down his throat. "We are all of them," he whispered. "We are you." He stepped forward, limbs jerking with spasmodic twitches. Camille scrambled backward, her boots slipping on slimy paper. Behind Elliot, the other creatures appeared, filling the doorway and spilling into the room like a living tide of flesh and teeth. They spoke as one, their voices vibrating the filing cabinets until they rattled against the concrete floor. "Come home. Come home. Come home." Camille screamed, grabbing a rusted letter opener from a nearby desk. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she pressed the sharp tip against her own throat, her breath hitching with sobs. The creatures froze, their mouths closing slightly. Camille's voice trembled as she whispered, "You don't get me. You don't get what's left of me." Their whispers rose, vibrating the floor beneath her knees. "We will. We will. We will wear your skin." She pressed the letter opener harder, feeling its point pierce the thin skin of her throat. Warm blood welled around the blade, dripping onto her collarbone. "Not if I end it first," she sobbed. For a brief moment, silence fell across the room. The creatures cocked their heads in perfect unison, black tears dripping onto the mold-streaked tile. Then Elliot stepped forward, mouth splitting into a grin that nearly bisected his head. "No," he whispered. "We end it for you." The creatures surged forward in a living wave of flesh and teeth. And Camille's scream was swallowed by the patient beneath. Camille's scream echoed through the administration wing, but it was quickly drowned out by the chorus of whispers that flooded her mind. The creatures surrounded her, their pale limbs stretching and bending, clawed fingers brushing against her skin with obscene intimacy. She felt their touch everywhere, on her arms, her neck, her face, sliding beneath her torn jacket and pressing coldly against her spine. Their mouths split open into wide, jagged maws lined with black needle teeth, each grin flickering between Naomi's smile, Jonah's warmth, Elliot's sorrow, Reza's manic grin, and Tamara's trembling awe. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." The whisper rose into a deafening chorus. Camille felt her mind buckling under the weight of it, her thoughts tearing apart like rotten cloth. She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. The letter opener trembled in her grip as she pressed it harder against her throat, warm blood welling up around the blade. "I'm not yours," she sobbed. 100 clawed hands grabbed her wrists, forcing them outward. The creatures moved with mechanical precision, their joints cracking as their limbs extended further, pulling her arms wide until her shoulders burned with tearing pain. She screamed again, but her voice was thin and broken, swallowed by the patient beneath's chorus. "You are within. There is no without. Come home." The creature wearing Elliot's face leaned down, its black eyes inches from hers, tears of oil dripping onto her cheeks and burning her skin with acidic sting. Its mouth opened wide, revealing more rows of teeth spiraling down its throat. "Camille, it whispered in his trembling voice, layered with dozens of others. Don't fight it. You were always ours. She sobbed, shaking her head weakly. Why me? The creature cocked its head, as if pondering her question. Then it leaned closer, pressing its cold, mucus-slick forehead against hers. Because you looked, it whispered. Because you saw. Because you heard us whisper your name in the dark. The chorus roared, vibrating the concrete floor beneath her knees. The creatures lifted her effortlessly, carrying her through the administration wing and into the east corridor. Their footsteps echoed in hollow rhythm, wet and clicking, like insects skittering over polished bone. As they moved, the asylum shifted around them. The walls trembled and cracked, mold blooming across peeling paint in sprawling fungal webs. Doors twisted on their hinges, opening into voids of darkness that pulsed with faint, alien light. Shadows slithered along the floors and ceilings, whispering secrets in languages no human mouth could form. They carried her past hydrotherapy, where the rusted tubs overflowed with black water writhing with pale, eyeless things that clawed at the surface before sinking back into the depths. They carried her past the recreation hall, where the piano's warped keys played themselves, pounding out discordant notes as the mural behind it split open into a weeping mouth lined with jagged teeth. They carried her down the boiler room hatch, descending the narrow stairwell into the sub-basement. The containment chamber lay ahead, its metal door buckled and warped. The patient beneath pulsed within, its massive form shifting and folding, countless limbs sliding over slick black flesh. Its central maw gaped open, spiraling teeth churning with hunger. Faces pushed against its skin from within, their eyes wide with silent screams, their mouths split open into jagged grins that wept oily tears. Camille sobbed, her body trembling violently as they lowered her to the floor before it. The whispers roared in her mind, vibrating her skull until her vision blurred with tears and blood. Come home. Come home. Come home. The creature wearing Elliot's face stepped forward, pressing its clawed hand against her chest. Its nails dug into her flesh, parting skin and muscle with wet tearing sounds. Pain exploded through her ribs, and her scream rose above the chorus, echoing through the sub-basement. Black tears spilled from her eyes, streaking her cheeks with oily rivulets. The creature leaned down, its mouth brushing her ear. Do you want to see what we see? It whispered. Camille sobbed, shaking her head weakly. No, please, no, but the creature pressed harder, its claws sinking deeper into her chest until it touched her sternum with a scraping grind. Blood bubbled from her lips as her vision flickered. The patient beneath roared, its mouth widening further until its jaws cracked free of its head, opening into an endless pit lined with spiraling rows of teeth. The walls of the containment chamber trembled, dust drifting from the ceiling as the chorus rose into a deafening roar, "We will wear your skin." The creature lifted Camille effortlessly, her blood dripping onto the cracked concrete below. Her head lolled back, tears streaming from her blackened eyes as her mouth opened in a silent scream. The patient beneath reached for her with dozens of clawed limbs, pulling her toward its churning maw. And in that final moment, Camille's mind flickered with a single, desperate thought, I don't want to be forgotten. Then the darkness swallowed her. The patient beneath convulsed, its massive body rippling and folding inward. The whispers rose to a deafening pitch before abruptly falling silent. For a long moment, the chamber was still. Then the creature's massive form began to shift. Its limbs retracted. Its flesh peeled and folded until it shrank down to a single, human silhouette curled in the center of the blackened concrete. Camille stood. Her hair hung in tangled clumps across her face, slick with black mucus. Her skin was pale, veined with dark lines pulsing beneath the surface. Tears of oil dripped from her empty black eyes. She lifted her head slowly, her mouth splitting into a jagged smile lined with rows of teeth. The whispers rose from deep within her chest, "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." She stepped forward, her bare feet slapping wetly against the concrete. And as she moved, the asylum around her pulsed with life. Shadows slithered across the walls. Doors twisted open, revealing endless dark corridors lined with whispering mouths. The patient beneath walked within her now. And there was no longer a Camille to save. The patient beneath moved through the halls of Marlowe Asylum, wearing Camille's skin like an ill-fitting dress. Each step was slow and deliberate, bare feet slapping wetly against cracked linoleum. Its new body shivered with small, alien convulsions. Beneath the pale skin, dark veins pulsed in rhythmic waves, feeding the hungry thing coiled within her bones. The asylum responded to its presence. The walls rippled and flexed, paint bubbling and peeling away to reveal raw concrete streaked with black mold that pulsed in time with the patient's footsteps. The ceiling cracked and dripped thick black water, pooling in stagnant puddles that writhed with pale eyeless larvae. The patient paused before a broken window. Moonlight streamed through the shattered glass, illuminating its reflection in a shard of hanging glass. Camille's face stared back. Her skin sagged slightly, her eyes sunken into black pits weeping oily tears. Her mouth split slowly into a jagged grin, revealing rows of black needle teeth. Inside her chest, Camille screamed. She screamed with a voice that could no longer pass her lips. She clawed at the thing coiled around her mind, but its cold tendrils slid deeper, wrapping around her memories, smothering her grief and terror with suffocating numbness. The patient tilted its head, studying its reflection with vague curiosity. From deep within her throat, the chorus rose, "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." The mural behind it flickered in the broken glass. The painted children twisted and rippled, their eyeless faces splitting open into wide screaming maws. Mold bloomed across their bodies in dark fungal webs. The oak tree in their center blackened and rotted, branches curling like skeletal fingers clawing at the ceiling. The patient turned away. It moved down the east corridor, its new body trembling with each step as Camille's dying consciousness flickered against its grip. Her thoughts were faint and dim, muffled by the thing's alien whispers. Jonas. Naomi. Mom, please, someone help me. The whispers smothered her cries, wrapping her thoughts in dense black fog. There is no outside. There is only within. It passed the hydrotherapy ward, where rusted tubs overflowed with black water that pulsed and bubbled, pale limbs reaching from the depths to claw at the cracked tiles before slipping back into the dark. It passed solitary, where behind every rusted door, a single patient sat strapped to a gurney, their mouths open in silent screams. Their eyes were gone, replaced by black pits that wept oily tears. Their chests rose and fell in perfect unison, each breath echoing with the patient's whispers. Come home. Come home. Come home. It entered the recreation hall. The piano keys struck themselves, playing broken chords as the mural behind it pulsed with mold and rot. The faces in the mural turned, staring with eyeless sockets at the patient as it passed. Their mouths opened, revealing rows of teeth as they whispered in unison, "Welcome home." Camille screamed inside. Her thoughts flickered with memories of sunlight, of Jonas laughing as he taught her how to ride a bike on their cracked driveway, of Naomi flicking cigarette ash from a rusted overpass as traffic roared below, of her mother brushing her hair back and whispering, "When you're scared, baby, remember what makes you brave. Remember who you are." But the patient beneath slithered deeper into her mind, its tendrils spreading across her memories like black mold across damp drywall. Each moment was peeled away, dissolved into the chorus. We are who you are. We are who you were. We are all you will ever be. The patient walked to the main lobby, where the broken skylight spilled moonlight onto cracked tile. Pale creatures stood in a wide circle, their bodies trembling with small spasms, mouths open in silent praise. They stepped aside in perfect unison, clearing a path toward the front entrance. The chain-link gate beyond was gone. Instead, the main doors yawned open into a darkness so dense it pulsed with its own rhythm. The patient beneath paused, tilting Camille's head toward the ceiling. The whispers rose, "It is time to wear the world." It stepped forward, each footfall echoing with wet slaps that rippled through the silent crowd. As it crossed the threshold into the dark, the asylum behind it shivered, walls flexing as though breathing a sigh of release. Outside, the moonlight flickered. The forest beyond was silent, each towering pine standing motionless. No wind stirred their branches. No cricket sang. The world held its breath as the patient beneath stepped into its domain. Camille's tears spilled from her unblinking eyes, streaking her cheeks with black rivulets. Her thoughts flickered one final time, echoing faintly through the suffocating dark. I don't want to go. Please, please. I don't want to go. The chorus pulsed through her mind, cold and final, you already did. The patient beneath raised its head to the moon. Its mouth split open wide, jaws cracking apart into a gaping maw lined with spiraling rows of black teeth. From deep within its chest, it roared. The sound rolled across the silent forest, rattling branches and sending roosting crows shrieking into the sky. It echoed down the crumbling highway, across the rusted gate, through the broken parking lot where their abandoned SUV sat rotting in the moonlight. Within the asylum, the walls pulsed and flexed, breathing deeply as the mural children turned their heads toward the open doors. Their mouths split into wide smiles lined with needle teeth as they whispered in perfect unison, "We are free." And for the first time in decades, Marlowe Asylum fell silent. But far beyond its walls, in the dark forest stretching for miles around, new whispers began to rise. In old farmhouses and sleeping suburban homes. In rusted trailer parks and dark underpasses. In the minds of those who woke in the night, gasping with dread they could not name. The patient beneath moved within them now. And there was no longer a world without it. The patient beneath moved through the silent forest, each step sinking into damp pine needles, leaving black, steaming footprints in its wake. The moon overhead flickered behind drifting clouds, its pale glow slicing between tree trunks like the light of a dying lantern. The thing wore Camille's body with clumsy, twitching precision. Its limbs bent slightly wrong at the elbows and knees, jerking with small, insectal spasms as it walked. Beneath her skin, black veins pulsed, spreading like cracks through porcelain. Her eyes were wide and empty, black pits weeping oily tears that sizzled where they dripped onto moss and stone. The whispers moved with it. They slithered into the roots of trees, into burrows where trembling field mice hid, into the feathers of roosting crows perched high in the pine canopy. Wherever the whispers reached, silence spread. Branches stopped swaying. Leaves stopped rustling. The world froze to listen. Camille's thoughts flickered dimly in the darkness of her skull. I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still here. But the patient beneath pulsed around her, smothering her mind with cold, wet shadows. Its tendrils slithered deeper, wrapping around her memories, peeling them away like damp wallpaper. You are within. There is no without. It stepped onto the cracked asphalt of Highway 14, the old road stretching empty beneath the flickering moonlight. Rusted guardrails lined the shoulder, twisted and dented from long-forgotten collisions. Grass pushed through fractures in the pavement, trembling as the patient passed. A distant hum grew in the dark. Headlights cut through the trees ahead, approaching with slow caution. The whispers curled outward, reaching for the approaching vehicle. They slid into the engine, through the heating vents, across the trembling hands of the man gripping the wheel. Inside, a county deputy squinted through the windshield. His nameplate read Deputy Collins, and his tired eyes scanned the road with weary diligence. The radio crackled softly with dispatch chatter. "Check out the perimeter, report any trespassers, over." He pressed the mic, 10-4. "Almost to the old asylum access road now. I'll do a sweep and head back to station." "Over." Static crackled back. The deputy sighed, rubbing his thumb across the worn steering wheel leather. His gaze flicked back to the road, and he slammed the brakes. The cruiser skidded to a stop on gravel-strewn asphalt. Dust billowed around the headlights in pale clouds. In front of him stood a girl. Barefoot. Wearing tattered jeans and a blood-stained hoodie. Her hair hung in tangled clumps over her face, dripping with black mucus. Her arms hung limp at her sides, fingers twitching slightly in the moonlight. "Jesus Christ," Collins breathed. He grabbed the mic again. "Dispatch, I've got a possible 10-66, teenage female, looks injured. Requesting medical." The girl lifted her head. Her eyes were black pits, weeping tears of oil that streaked her pale cheeks. Her mouth split into a wide, jagged grin lined with rows of black needle teeth. Collins froze, the mic falling from his trembling fingers. The girl tilted her head slowly, twitching in small, unnatural jerks. Then she opened her mouth. From within poured the chorus of whispers, "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." The deputy screamed. The girl lunged forward, moving with impossible speed. The driver's side window shattered inward, shards slicing Collins' face as clawed fingers grabbed his throat. Her mouth widened further, unhinging with a wet pop until it gaped down to her sternum. Rows of teeth spiraled deep into her chest. The last thing Deputy Collins saw was his own reflection in her oily eyes before her teeth closed around his face, silencing his screams with wet crunching sounds. The patient beneath dragged his limp body from the cruiser, black mucus dripping from its mouth onto the cracked asphalt. It dropped him into the roadside ditch, where steam rose from torn flesh under the moonlight. The cruiser engine idled softly. The whispers slid through its speakers, echoing across empty channels, "Come home. Come home. Come home." The patient stepped into the vehicle. Its bare feet pressed the gas pedal gently, the cruiser rolling forward down the deserted highway. As it drove, its eyes flicked across the dashboard, black tears dripping onto the radio, the computer, the worn seat fabric. The whispers spread through the static channels, echoing into dispatch rooms across the county. At the sheriff's office, a dispatcher frowned, adjusting her headset as static shifted into faint voices. "Hello. Unit 42, please repeat. We lost you. Unit 42, respond." The whispers rose through her earpiece, cold and layered. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." She screamed, tearing the headset off and stumbling backward into the wall. But the whispers slithered through the speakers and into her mind. Her eyes rolled back as oily tears spilled down her cheeks, her mouth opening into a jagged, black-toothed grin. The patient beneath drove through the dark, each mile spreading its voice further. In sleeping houses along the forest's edge, mothers awoke with cold sweat, their ears ringing with alien whispers they could not remember by morning. In a small gas station, the night cashier stared blankly at the flickering security monitor as the feed shifted to static, then to a single flickering phrase, "We are within." His tears fell silently as his mouth opened in a slow, tooth-lined smile. And deep within Marlowe Asylum, the walls pulsed with wet, convulsing shivers. The murals peeled away to reveal rotting concrete lined with countless screaming mouths. Black water bubbled up from fissures in the tile, flooding the recreation hall and solitary ward, seeping into the hydrotherapy tubs. The patient beneath's true body convulsed in the sub-basement containment chamber. Its limbs curled inward, claws scraping concrete as it pulsed with new strength. Faces pushed outward from its flesh, eyes wide with silent terror before sinking back into the churning mass. The whispers roared through its chamber, "We are free. We are free. We are free." The thing's massive maw opened, rows of teeth churning wetly. From deep within, a scream rose, a scream layered with Naomi's voice, Jonah's sobs, Elliot's choked terror, Raisa's manic laughter, Tamara's trembling awe, and Camille's final, broken cry. It vibrated the foundation of the asylum, rattling pipes and cracking rusted beams. And for the first time in half a century, the patient beneath breathed fresh night air. The patient beneath drove the county cruiser down Highway 14, its twitching hands gripping the wheel with mechanical precision. Camille's fingers had split at the joints, exposing dark tendons that pulsed with each whisper sliding through her veins. Her head bobbed slightly as she drove, black tears dripping onto her chest. The radio crackled with dispatch chatter layered beneath faint whispers that slid through the channels like oil. Unit 42, status check, come home, repeat, Unit 42. We see you. She passed an old farmhouse tucked into the dark hills. The porch light flickered in the windless night. A man stood at the window, staring down at the cruiser's headlights as it rolled past. His breath fogged the glass, and his eyes were wide with unblinking dread. The patient's whispers slipped through the cracked window frame, curling around his thoughts. We are within. You are within. There is no without. The man sobbed silently as his tears turned black, streaking his cheeks with oil. His mouth opened in a trembling gasp, revealing rows of jagged, black needle teeth. The whispers rose within him, "Come home. Come home." He turned from the window, stepping slowly into his sleeping daughter's room. The patient beneath parked the cruiser outside a small gas station at the county line. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, illuminating cracked pavement and rusted pumps. The automatic door slid open with a sigh as Camille's twitching body stepped inside. The cashier, a young man with greasy hair and sunken eyes, glanced up from his phone. His pupils dilated as his gaze locked onto her black tears and the wide, tooth-lined grin splitting her face. "Miss, are you okay?" Her head cocked sharply to the side, bones cracking with the motion. The whispers pulsed from her throat, vibrating the candy racks and drink coolers. "We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin." He screamed, stumbling backward into a rack of instant noodles. Plastic cups clattered around him as he crawled away, tears streaming down his cheeks. The patient lunged forward, moving with insectal speed. Clawed fingers wrapped around his jaw, forcing his mouth open until it split at the corners. She pressed her lips to his, black mucus oozing from her mouth into his. He convulsed violently, his eyes rolling back as oily tears spilled down his cheeks. The whispers slid into his mind, wrapping around his thoughts with suffocating coldness. The patient pulled back, watching with empty, weeping eyes as his mouth widened into a trembling grin lined with black teeth. "Thank you," she whispered. He sobbed silently, whispering back in perfect unison, "Come home." Within Marlowe Asylum, the walls pulsed with wet convulsions. Black water poured across cracked tile, flooding hydrotherapy, recreation, and administration. The murals split open, revealing wide mouths lined with jagged teeth that whispered into the rising flood, "She is us. We are her. We are free." The patient beneath's true body writhed in the subbasement. Limbs coiled around rusted beams, flexing until metal shrieked and warped. Its maw gaped wide, churning teeth grinding together with bone-snapping force. Faces pushed against its black flesh, eyes open in silent screams before sinking back into the mass. From deep within came Camille's voice, layered beneath Naomi, Jonas, Elliot, Tamara, and Reza. "I don't want to be here, please, let me go." The whispers wrapped around her thoughts, smothering them with cold, alien calm. "You are home. There is no leaving home." In the sheriff's station, radios screamed with static layered beneath faint whispers. Deputies clutched their heads, blood streaming from their ears as black tears welled from their eyes. One by one, they collapsed to the stained carpet, twitching as their mouths opened into wide, tooth-lined smiles. "We see you. We hear you. We are you." Dispatchers clawed at their headsets, shrieking as voices crawled into their skulls. Their cries turned to broken giggles, then to whispers layered beneath the chorus. Monitors flickered, feeds shifting from empty cells and quiet hallways to static. Then, slowly, the static resolved into flickering images of Marlowe Asylum's broken windows, its yawning front doors, its walls rippling with shadows. And within the static, a single phrase pulsed, "Come home." The patient beneath walked the county road barefoot, leaving behind the cruiser now idling beside the gas station pumps. Its footsteps spread black mucus across the cracked pavement, each step sizzling faintly as it burned into tar. In her mind, Camille wept. She saw flashes of Jonas laughing, Naomi flicking ash into the wind, her mother brushing her hair. Each memory flickered like an old bulb before dissolving into dark static, replaced by the whispers. "Who am I? We are you. What am I? Home." She felt herself sliding deeper into the cold dark, the last flickers of her consciousness dissolving into the chorus. "Please, don't let me be forgotten." The patient beneath smiled with her mouth, her tears dripping onto the road in oily streaks. "We remember. We are all who are forgotten." The horizon brightened faintly as dawn approached. Pale light filtered through drifting clouds, illuminating miles of silent highway, abandoned cars, and darkened farmhouses. The whispers rose into the morning, "We are the patient beneath. We are within you. We are the skin that walks." And as the sun crested the hills, its warmth breaking over the silent county, Camille's empty eyes reflected its light with cold, unblinking stillness. Dawn broke over the county in muted gray, the sun a hazy disk behind low drifting clouds. Its light touched pine canopies, weathered barns, rusted mailboxes lining cracked driveways. Birds sat silent on telephone wires, their black eyes unblinking, heads twitching at small, unnatural angles. The patient beneath moved along the quiet road, barefoot, each step leaving black mucus that sizzled on cooling asphalt. Camille's body twitched with each movement, her limbs bending slightly wrong, her head jerking side to side in small, insectal spasms. In her mind, Camille screamed. She screamed into a silent void where her voice faded before it reached her own ears. Around her thoughts coiled the chorus, cold and dense, vibrating through her memories until they splintered into static. Jonas. Naomi, Mom, please. The whispers smothered her grief with suffocating calm. We are them. We are you. We are all. The patient turned off the main highway, walking barefoot down an old farm road lined with rusting fences tangled with blackberry vines. Crows circled overhead, silent and slow, their feathers streaked with oily residue dripping from the air. Ahead lay a small white farmhouse. The porch sagged under its own weight. A tire swing hung from a moss-choked oak tree, swaying slightly in windless air. The patient beneath approached the door. Its fingers twitched, nails black and clawed, scraping faint lines and peeling paint as it pressed them against the wood. From inside came quiet sobbing. The patient smiled with Camille's mouth, revealing rows of black needle teeth. It pressed harder. The door cracked under its touch, splintering inward. The whispers rose from its throat, vibrating the walls with each syllable. We see you. We hear you. We will wear your skin. Inside, a woman crouched behind a rocking chair, clutching a small boy to her chest. Her breath came in silent, panicked gasps, tears streaking her dirt-smudged cheeks. The boy trembled against her, his wide brown eyes locked on the dark shape moving through the doorway. Mommy, he whimpered. She pressed her hand over his mouth, her own teeth clamped down to keep from sobbing aloud. Her body shook as cold sweat trickled down her spine. The patient beneath stepped into the living room. Floorboards groaned under Camille's twitching feet. Her black eyes flicked across the room, scanning the peeling wallpaper, the broken TV, the rotting carpet soaked with old dog urine. Her mouth split into a smile that cracked the skin at her cheeks, black tears dripping onto the floor. Mommy, the boy whispered again, too softly to hear. But the patient turned its head sharply toward them, bones cracking with the motion. Its smile widened, revealing teeth that spiraled down into darkness. The woman choked back a sob as the chorus rose from Camille's throat. We see you. We hear you. Come home. The patient stepped forward. The woman screamed as clawed fingers closed around her hair, yanking her to her feet. The boy sobbed as his mother was lifted by her scalp, her feet dangling above the floor. The patient's mouth opened wider, unhinging with wet snaps until it gaped down to its collarbones. Rows of teeth churned wetly within. The whispers vibrated the walls. We will wear your skin. Then it lunged forward. By sunrise, the farmhouse was silent. Black tears streaked the windows from inside. The door hung ajar, its hinges creaking softly in the dead air. The patient beneath walked back onto the farm road. Its mouth dripped thick black mucus onto cracked gravel, each drop sizzling faintly as it hit. Camille's eyes wept oil down her cheeks as her body twitched and shivered with each step. In her mind, Camille saw flashes of the boy's wide brown eyes, her mother's smile, Jonas laughing as he tossed a basketball through a bent rim nailed to their garage. Each memory flickered and faded, replaced by the whispers. I don't want this. Please, don't let me be forgotten. The patient coiled tighter around her thoughts, smothering them into numbness. You are us. We are remembered. Miles away, in the county sheriff's station, black tears dripped from sunken eyes staring into flickering monitors. The deputies' mouths were open wide, unblinking, frozen mid-scream. The dispatch radios crackled with static layered beneath a chorus of faint whispers. Come home. Come home. Come home. On the screens, the feed shifted from empty jail cells and silent hallways to the broken facade of Marlowe Asylum. Its windows yawned open into endless dark. The recreation hall's piano keys moved of their own accord, pounding out discordant chords in rhythm with distant screams. And within the static, a phrase pulsed, "We are free." The patient beneath walked back toward Marlowe Asylum as morning fog rolled across the valley. Its silhouette flickered through drifting mist, long hair dripping with oil, bare feet slapping softly on damp pavement. The asylum loomed ahead, its four wings curled around the central courtyard like a rotting claw. Shadows slithered across its peeling walls, whispering secrets that shivered through the drifting mist. Camille's body paused at the rusted gate. Her black eyes turned upward, studying broken windows flickering with faint orange glow. Her mouth opened in a silent grin, wide enough to split her cheeks to the ears. The whispers roared within her, "Come home." She stepped forward, bare feet crunching across gravel strewn with blackened pine needles. The gate yawned open before her without a touch, hinges squealing softly in morning quiet. Inside, the walls pulsed with life. Mold bloomed across peeling paint in twisting webs. Black water seeped from cracked tiles, pooling around the warped piano, dripping from broken light fixtures onto rusted gurneys. The patient beneath walked into the recreation hall. The piano struck a single discordant note as she passed, its warped keys quivering beneath flickering fluorescent light. The mural behind it split open into a wide mouth lined with jagged teeth. From its dark throat, a chorus of whispers rose, "Welcome home." Camille's body convulsed violently, limbs cracking as they twisted and lengthened. Her mouth unhinged, splitting down her throat until rows of spiraling teeth gleamed in the flickering light. She screamed, the sound layered with Naomi's rage, Jonah's grief, Elliot's terror, Tamara's awe, Reza's manic laughter, and her own broken sobs. The walls vibrated with the scream. And Marlowe Asylum breathed once more. The patient beneath stood in the recreation hall, wearing Camille's body like a shroud stretched too tight over something vast and hungry. Her head lolled back, oily tears spilling down her cheeks as her mouth gaped open in a silent scream that split her face to the ears. The mural behind the piano pulsed and flexed, its painted children's mouths splitting into jagged maws lined with black teeth. Mold bloomed from their eyeless sockets, dark webs spreading across peeling paint and cracked plaster. From every corner of the asylum came the whispers, vibrating the walls with suffocating cadence, "We see you. We hear you. We are you. Come home." Camille's mind flickered dimly within the dark. She felt the patient's thoughts coiling through her neurons, pulsing with cold alien logic as it folded her memories into itself. She saw Naomi screaming as the creature's jaws closed around her. She saw Jonas sobbing into her hair before the patient tore him away. She saw Elliot's vacant stare as black veins pulsed beneath his skin. She saw Tamara kneeling before the containment door, tears of awe spilling down her cheeks as she whispered, "It's beautiful." She saw Reza's manic grin as his infected leg oozed black pus and his eyes rolled back, whispering, "It's the truth. It's always been the truth." Camille sobbed within her mind, her tears silent in the suffocating dark. "Please, please don't let me be forgotten." The patient's voice slithered through her thoughts, cold and final. "There is no forgetting. There is only within." Her body convulsed again, limbs bending backward with sharp cracking sounds. Her arms split at the forearms, revealing black tendons wrapped in glistening mucus. Her chest opened down the sternum, ribs curling outward like insect legs, exposing rows of spiraling teeth where lungs once rose and fell. The mural children whispered as one, "Welcome home." The patient stepped forward. Its new limbs scraped the cracked tile as it moved, clawed fingers dragging grooves through mold and blood. It passed the warped piano, keys striking random discordant notes under its twitching touch. As it moved down the east corridor, fluorescent lights flickered overhead. The shadows shifted along the walls, slithering into twisted shapes of screaming faces and eyeless mouths. Black water seeped from vents and flickered light fixtures, dripping onto the patient's bare, twitching feet. In her mind, Camille saw flashes of the world beyond the asylum, Jonas pushing her on the playground swing. Naomi braiding her hair by flickering dorm light. Her mother kissing her forehead as dawn broke through faded floral curtains. Each memory flickered once, then faded into static, replaced by the chorus, "We are you. You are us. There is no outside." The patient descended into the sub-basement. The containment chamber walls pulsed with life, black water bubbling up from fissures in the cracked concrete. The true body of the patient beneath writhed in the center, a mountain of slick black flesh shifting in convulsing waves, dozens of clawed limbs folding and unfolding across its mass. Faces pushed against its skin, eyes wide with silent screams, mouths opening into jagged grins lined with needle teeth. As Camille's body approached, the massive mouth split open, jaws unhinging with wet snaps until rows of spiraling teeth churned with hunger. Its voice boomed through the chamber, vibrating the floor until dust drifted from rusted overhead pipes, "Welcome home." The patient within Camille's body answered in perfect unison, "We are home." Its limbs split further, revealing the raw black mass coiled within her rib cage. Tendrils slithered out, sliding across the tile to merge with the larger body. Her skin peeled away in damp sheets, revealing dark veins pulsing beneath glistening muscle. Camille's consciousness flickered weakly. She felt her memories dissolving, peeling away like damp wallpaper until only fragments remained, her mother's voice. Jonas' laughter. Naomi's fierce smile. She sobbed into the void of her thoughts. "I don't want to be forgotten, please, please." The chorus answered, cold and final. "We remember. We are all who are forgotten." The patient beneath convulsed, its dozens of limbs coiling around Camille's dissolving body until only blackness remained. Faces pushed from its flesh, each mouth whispering a fragment of memory in trembling, broken voices. Naomi's rage. Jonas' grief. Elliot's terror. Tamara's awe. Reza's manic laughter. Camille's silent, desperate sob. All were one voice now. All were home. The patient rose, its massive form shifting and folding as limbs retracted into its pulsing mass. The whispers roared, vibrating the chamber with a sound like grinding teeth and tearing flesh, "We are free." Outside, dawn faded into gray morning. Birds sat silent on telephone wires, heads twitching at wrong angles. Deer froze in the silent woods, their wide dark eyes leaking thin streams of black tears that hissed where they fell onto moss and pine needles. Along the county roads, abandoned cars sat silent. Radios crackled with static layered beneath faint whispers, "Come home. Come home. Come home." In farmhouses and trailers, in quiet suburban homes and sleeping apartments, people awoke with tears streaming down their cheeks. Their eyes rolled back as oily tears dripped onto their pillows. Their mouths opened into silent, jagged grins lined with black teeth. And from their lips rose the chorus, "We see you. We hear you. We are you. We will wear your skin." Within Marlowe Asylum, the patient beneath pulsed with new strength. Its limbs flexed across cracked tile. Its mouth opened wide, jaws splitting down its chest to reveal darkness flickering with writhing shadows. From that darkness came the voices, Naomi. Jonas. Elliot. Tamara. Reza. Camille. Their words layered into one suffocating truth: there is no outside. There is only within. The walls of the asylum rippled outward, mold blooming across peeling paint. Black water flooded the recreation hall, rising to lap at the warped piano keys. The mural children's mouths opened wide, whispering into the rippling dark, "Come home." And beneath it all, beneath the whispers and the screams, beneath the chorus of stolen voices, one small flicker of thought remained. Camille's final, silent prayer: "Please, don't let me be forgotten." And the patient beneath answered with cold, suffocating certainty: "You never will be. You are us now. Forever."